19th, 2006 at 6:31. And Adriana Kumps, since you're standing, if you would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We intend to have a workshop this evening, which will complete our workshops. And then we'll start with a budget meeting. So for those in the audience, there are some cookies and coffee next door. And trust me, the ones that look like they're dry, they are not. Our compliments to the chef at the school district once again, and we appreciate that. The Budget Committee and citizens and staff, please make sure that you enjoy yourself. On this evening, we have Buildings and Grounds, IT Department, Capital Lease, open discussion, and we'll also have a discussion on copiers that was spawned at our last meeting. So, Nate?
Yes, Chuck?
I just want to spend a few minutes before we get right into the budget and give kind of an overview of the Buildings and Grounds Department, how we operate and exactly what we do. Buildings and Grounds Department for the Londonderry School District is responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of all 6 schools and the school district office, and it represents a total of about 687,000 square feet and approximately 200 acres of fields and grounds in the campus areas around all the buildings. We also work with the town to provide some basic support services dealing with facility issues, specifically electrical work, turf care, snow plowing, and some HVAC services. Buildings and Grounds budget is basically made up of 4 different parts: personnel, operating budget, maintenance trust, and district-wide construction. And just want to spend a few minutes and talk about each of those topics. Personnel, we have 46 full-time and 2 part-time employees. On the grounds department, we have 2 technicians that are turf specialists. They're licensed to apply fertilizers, pesticides. They do work on school fields as well as town fields. We have a technician, has a strong background, about 30 years of experience in design and installation of irrigation systems, and handles all of the irrigation. We have about 20,000 feet of irrigation pipe in the ground. And we also have a custodian who is assigned to the grounds department, type of a laborer position, and we're very fortunate. The custodian that we have in this position is also good in taking care of power equipment, vehicles, and some of the equipment used by the grounds department. The building maintenance part, we have 4 employees. We have a licensed electrician, we have an HVAC technician, general maintenance employee who has a strong background in HVAC, and he's our backup HVAC. And we also have another person, strong background, general repairs, including plumbing. And we have a great deal of plumbing work, repairs that goes on in the school district. And these 4 people complete an average of about 150 work orders each month, in addition to general preventative maintenance throughout the district. The custodial department, each school has a day shift custodian who's also a building supervisor, and they're responsible for ordering supplies, being at the schools for lunch duty, cafeteria cleaning, mail runs, deliveries, snow removal, any problems, activities, emergencies which come up during the course of the day. High school, middle school, Matthew Thornton each have a custodian who comes in late morning to assist with the lunch duties and the work that goes on in the cafeteria during lunchtime. Each school operates 2 shifts, except the high school and the middle school. We have 3 shifts at those schools. And the custodians on 2nd and 3rd shift are the ones who are actually responsible for the after-school activities and events, and that's where we do the major cleaning of the buildings. And we average about 23,000 square feet of cleaning during an 8-hour shift. The operating budget. The request for FY08 is up about $54,000 total, which is about 2.5%. And there are about 130 accounts. I won't go through each one, just give an overview. They're detailed pages 405 through 424 of the budget book. And these accounts cover the costs of the day-to-day expenses of running the schools. They include utilities, equipment repairs, custodial cleaning, sanitary supplies, ground supplies, building repairs, and whatever we need for repair parts and supplies for HVAC, electrical, plumbing repairs in the district. The largest part of the operating budget, approximately 56%, is utilities. Electricity, gas, oil heat, water, sewer, and telephone service. Electricity's been a tough one. Rates for electricity have been all over the place in the past 2 years. We've had 3 increases and 2 decreases, and I just received word from our account rep today. There's a 1.4% increase, which has been approved by the Public Utilities Commission, will be effective on January 1st. The FY08 request for electricity district-wide is actually down about $40,000 for the current year. With all of these rate changes, we're actually expecting more of an increase last year than what we saw, and have decreased the request in some of these accounts to reflect that. I also want to take a minute to mention our energy conservation program. We are in year 7 right now. And we've heard a lot about cost avoidance from some of the other people who've talked. I'm the original cost avoidance person. And since we started the energy program, as of December 1st of this year, we have a cost avoidance of $1,729,000 district-wide. And we are using less electricity, less heat, less oil than we did before we started the building, even though we have increased our square footage by 30% in that time. We've added buildings, our usage has gone down. Unfortunately, the prices have gone up, and the bills that we have to pay have also increased. Fuel oil, the request for FY08 is up almost $18,000 for next year. We know that in a typical year, and so far this has not been typical, but in a typical year, we will use about 65,000 gallons of oil. And the budget request for FY08 is at $2.40 per gallon. We're currently paying 2.375 cents per gallon. It's a contract price. We hope to be offered an opportunity to lock in at a lower price in the next couple of months, and if that happens, I'll bring the information to the board. We can discuss it at that time. Natural gas prices fluctuate in relation to the fuel oil market and temperature trends in general. The FY08 budget request reflects a slight decrease over this year, about $4,000, but it is still higher than the FY06 actual use. And the reason for that, if you scan through the columns on the budget book, is the extremely mild winter that we had last year. We're on course for another mild winter, but of course what we budget for is an average winter. So if it's an average winter, we're probably going to see much higher use of gas and fuel oil. Water is supplied by 2 companies to the schools. Manchester Water Works supplies water to North School, and Pennachuck Water Company to all of the other locations. There's a slight increase last year, about 3.5 or 4% by Manchester Water Works, and there's a moderate rate increase by Pennachuck Water Works. And in addition to that, we're also paying a surcharge to Pennachuck. There was a lawsuit or an attempted takeover by the city of Nashua of Pennachuck a couple of years ago. And the bottom line right now is that Pennachuck has received permission from the Public Utilities Commission to recoup their legal costs through the rates. And we're now paying a surcharge to reimburse Pennachuck for those costs. And that's a couple of $1,000s a year. Budget request for telephones includes line fees, long-distance charges, payphone costs, and we do have to pay for the payphones. We do not make money on them. And repairs and maintenance to the phone system hardware in each school. The budget request for next year is actually 20% lower than what we paid a couple of years ago. And the main reason for this is this past year, after an extensive RFP and bid process that went on for about 10 months, we moved from Verizon to Choice One Communications, and so we're saving quite a bit of money over what we would have paid had we stayed with Verizon and renewed the Centrex contract. And I'm also looking for a total district-wide of about $137,000 for care and upkeep of the fields and grounds, and $273,000 for building repairs. And these accounts cover the cost of all aspects of repairs and maintenance in the buildings and on the grounds. I have a list of about 60 items that I specifically go through and work out budgets in order to come with the total number. I won't go through that total, but it's pretty thorough, and we look at every aspect of running the schools and try to anticipate what might go wrong and what we need to do to keep everything operating safely. Another part of the budget is the maintenance trust, and this year requesting we continue to fund the district-wide maintenance trust account with a $400,000 appropriation. This accounts for large projects such as roofing, paving, HVAC replacement, and on page 567, we have some background on the maintenance trust, the projects that were completed this year, and what we're looking to do next year. Specifically, repaving the main parking lot of the high school, resurfacing the running track, replacing some rooftop units, heating and ventilation units at the high school in Phase 2, roofing overcoat of Phase 1 at the high school, and a boiler room renovation at the middle school. And I just want to touch on that now. We can go more into detail later if you like. And the final part of the budget is district-wide construction. This accounted for special projects such as painting, carpet replacement, small renovations that are not part of normal day-to-day maintenance or repairs. And page 404 has a list of the district-wide construction budget, and there are 3 columns on that. It shows the original requests from the administration at each school or from the custodians and maintenance department, a revision that we made in October, and then the final request, which we made a couple of weeks later. The total amount is $172,000, which is an increase of about $62,000 in the current year. Well, there's the overview. If you have specific questions on any of the accounts or any of the topics.
Paul?
Hi, Chuck. I have one question back on the custodians, the allocation of custodian time, specific to Matthew Thornton.
Which page?
Let me find that
Or
for
is it
you.
just a general question?
No, I can draw you to page. I guess it's page 216. And I'm also referencing the square footage that you cite in your buildings and grounds section on page 403. So, Matthew Thornton, custodial hours per day show it currently, I guess, at 40 hours per day.
Yes.
North School, and what I do to kind of wrap my mind around some of these numbers for adequacy or equity is compares the different elementary schools together, and also with respect to the square footage of the buildings. So Matthew Thornton, you've got 40 hours a day. North and South School are at 28 hours a day. Right? So that's about a 40%, 40 and change percent increment for Matthew Thornton above the levels at North and South. If I compare that on a square footage basis, the difference is more around 15 to 20% increase in square footage to be covered. So on a apportionment basis, I would think if the custodial hours were relative to the square footage increment, you'd be talking more like 32, 33 hours. Are there special circumstances why, from a square footage point of view, Matthew Thornton seems to have a disproportionate amount of custodial time?
At Matthew Thornton, we have a, what we call a split shift custodian that works between first and second shift, comes in late morning and helps with the lunches. We do not have that at North and South School. What we do is for South School, most days, if the custodian that we have servicing the library, and I apologize, I forgot to mention him, we do have a full-time custodian who's also a licensed electrician that works at the library. What we do is we have him go to South School for 2.5 to 3 hours a day to help with the lunches down there. At North School, the cafeteria is not needed immediately after lunchtime on a daily basis. So the custodian that works there has a little bit extra time to do the cleaning in that cafeteria. If we do need additional help at North School, we take the custodian who's assigned to the grounds department and we send him up to North School to assist with that. As far as per square foot, I believe we average around 21,000 square feet at North and South and around 19,000 at Matthew Thornton. And on second shift, what kind of skews that number is we have a custodian at Matthew Thornton who's also the backup and assists over at the Moose Hill School with some cleaning and if there's overtime or activities there. And one of the custodians, one of the full-time custodians, splits his time between North and South School. And we have them listed as 4 hours per school, but it may not be that every day. It may be 6 and 2 one day, 5 and 3 another, 4 and 4, depending on the activities each school and the needs at the schools. So overall, we have some job sharing going on with the custodians at North, South, and Matthew Thornton to try to make the most of what's available depending on what the needs are.
All right, so you mentioned square footage of something like 19 or 21,000
And I think that's about an average of the cleaning, yes.
for cleaning. Okay, so how does that relate to the square footage on page 403?
Okay, at Matthew Thornton, the 74,000 square feet, we have 3.5 custodians who are actually cleaning on second shift. So that comes out to about 21,000 square feet.
Oh, so you're talking about a per custodian coverage.
I'm not, when I say the averages, I'm not taking the total custodial hours at the school.
Right.
Most of the cleaning, almost all of the cleaning is done on second and third shift.
Okay. Okay, and then, for instance, how much is it at North and South of the cleaning custodians? Is that similarly around 3 to 3.5? Or around 20?
Approximately 2.5.
Okay. Okay, because it's less,
So North School's about 24,000. And South School will be a little bit over that.
okay. So that's what you have, and I guess I'm just wondering, is it really I know you're trying to allocate across the resources, and you've got 3 finite schools, 3 discrete schools to service. But I'm just wondering, It just seemed kind of disproportionate that your overall, I guess, if the hours cited in the district office section cite 28 total custodial hours, if I'm reading that correctly, at North and South, and 40 at Matthew Thornton, it just, is there no way to allocate hours differently or reallocate people such a way that not as many hours are needed at Matthew Thornton?
Well, as I said, we have them booked that way in the budget book, the 40 hours and the 28 hours and 16 over at Moose Hill. But depending on the needs, we do shift them around weekly, if not daily, depending on activities going on at the schools.
Okay, so maybe I should look at these numbers as more fluid than this? And more like,
We have, for the sake of the budget process, we have custodians who are assigned to particular schools, but we do have cross-training, we do have people that move back and forth between schools.
Yeah.
And we do that coordination between myself and the shift supervisors or head custodians at each of the schools.
okay, thank you.
Dan?
Chuck, can we turn to page 404 for a minute? Are you there?
Yes.
Okay. My question isn't centered around to what we left in, but what we took out in the revisions. LMS, if we can go to that first. The sped space needs architectural fees. I assume that's talking about our Friends 2 program, or that we're anticipating that's going to need some additional space up there.
Yes.
And, or not Friends 2, but the LMS program for the autistic children and those with a little bit more
What,
needs.
what we talked about at one of the previous meetings was taking funds and putting them in the article for the South School A&E and use that money for architectural at the middle school or other locations if necessary to see what we could do there to do renovations in-house.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure everybody was aware of that. You know, I remember talking about it on the committee, and I don't remember if we made that presentation the other evening when we approved that as a warrant item, but that's where we're going to glean those funds.
Yes.
So that project is ongoing or anticipated to be completed at the middle school as well.
Yes.
The second item, if we can go back up to the high school. The lobby replaced carpet with ceramic tile. I know it's 10,600 that we've taken out in the final revision, but I assume that would have a payback relative to maintenance and wear and tear and easier to clean ceramic tile than that carpet. So why wouldn't we leave that in? Or am I wrong? Is there a payback?
There may be a slight payback,
Okay, or cost savings, I should say.
but the carpet is still holding up. It's not a trip hazard, safety hazard. So we had to look at it, when we're looking to make some cuts, we had to look at it as being really more cosmetic than anything else. So in view of all of the other requests, that one took on a
Oh, I
lesser
understand.
importance.
And the last one is, I didn't know we were looking at it, but maybe this is for yourself or Jim. Where were we considering relocating guidance to?
We had talked about taking guidance and locating it downstairs in Phase 1, somewhere near the main office.
And that's what this original request was for?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
George?
Thanks, Steve. Chuck, I just have a question quick on page 408, 409, relating to conference, what I assume is conferences and mileage. Just looking at this, it appears that we run some sort of inter-office mail function. Is there a more, I mean, it's $38.50 is what I think it comes out to, if my math is right, but then again, I started failing math in 5th grade, hasn't gotten a lot better since. Is that the most efficient way to do this? See, I guess I don't understand, if I got people leaving anyway, am I making special runs for, is this mail going with custodians? Is that how it works?
Yes, we have At each of the schools, the custodians make at least one mail run per day between the school and the district office. And any mail that's in the buildings that needs to go to another location comes here and then gets redistributed and then is sent back out to the other schools.
How does it, so somebody here is sorting mail?
Yes.
Is that a full-time person, part-time person? It's just part of somebody's job that they do?
Yes.
I mean, it's just built into somebody's job is, I guess, what I'm asking.
We have, if you've been in the workroom, we have bins in there for the different schools. So if you come in and, you have a half dozen letters or items, if there's a custodian bringing it, I would look at what he has and put it in the bins for the other schools. And when the custodian for that school comes, he would take that mail to his school as well as drop off anything that's coming in. We make double runs at the high school, from the high school to this building, just because of the volume of mail. And mileage is reimbursed at whatever the current IRS rate is, which right now is .445.
And we reimburse them because they're doing a special run to come here? They're not coming here as part of their normal work function? I guess that's what I'm getting at, is I
Right,
don't
if-
understand why we reimburse people.
If not for the mail run, there would probably be no
Wouldn't be
reason.
here.
Every once in a while, we get some packages in, may do some training, and if that's the case, then yes, the person does the mail. At the same time, there are times we have ad council meetings going on here. The principals will take care of the mail, the custodian will not have to do it. We did a couple of years ago, we participate in a program with Community Action where they have retired people who are looking to make some additional income to supplement Social Security. And we did have somebody a couple of years ago who did the mail runs for us, and that worked out great. He wound up retiring, having able to be able to get somebody on a volunteer basis like that, or on a basis through a program we didn't have to pay for the person. And the mail does need to go back and forth,
Well,
and so the custodian is kind of the last line of the process if there's nobody else doing it.
Okay, thanks.
You okay?
Yeah, Chuck, I have a quick question. On the telephone, I look at the numbers here, and you said we got a better proposal, and it's 80,000, which is about equal to last year's. But the numbers of the actual the year before was 70, and it's 58 with the expenses and what's encumbered right now. Explain to me why that shouldn't be a lower number.
We also budget for the full cost of what the telephone service would be. And then each year we apply for the E-rate money. So if we receive the E-rate money, then we don't spend as much on phone service, but there's no guarantee we're going to receive that E-rate money each year. So that is the majority of that difference in the price.
When do we find out about E-rate? And what is, I guess the question I come up with, I know, when do we find out about it and why wouldn't we get it? I guess it's the two questions I have.
Sue can tell you, she's our E-rate person.
So as long as you're coming up, if you could explain E-rate?
Thank you. E-rate is a federal reimbursement program. The school district is eligible to apply for telephone service reimbursement. We are eligible to apply for reimbursement for the cost of our T1 lines to bring internet services to the district. There are some other items that you did make a determination whether you're eligible or not. It's kind of a sliding scale, depending, again, as with most federal programs, based on need. Londonderry is eligible for about a 39% reimbursement for those programs for which we're eligible. It is hard to say when we're notified because that varies. We submit the paperwork. In fact, right now the window is open for us to submit what's called a Form 470, to submit that to the federal government. It has to pass a system of review to make sure that we are indeed eligible for the services we claim we're eligible for. That window closes in early February. After that, the federal government notifies us whether our Form 70 was sufficient, so we are given the privilege of submitting a Form 471. This says that we have vendors with whom we will deal, that we have contracts, and that sort of thing. And then there's another federal review of that. And as Chuck can attest to, the past couple of years, for whatever reason, our Form 471s have gone under technical review, which means that we are then obligated to send the federal government anything that they want related to those contracts. We had to send them a month's worth of telephone bills so that they could indeed verify that we were submitting correct numbers. In that instance, we didn't find out until last November whether we would get the money or not, even though we would be reimbursed from July 1 on. So from July 1 till November, we had no idea whether or not we would get the reimbursement money. This year, they asked for a copy of our technology plan because you have to have a plan in place. So they wanted to document that we indeed had one. We did get notification, I'm going to say, perhaps early October this year, which was earlier than last year. So it depends on what they're looking at, what kind of technical review applications are subject to. And again, they will fund the most needy instances before they will fund down to our level. But fortunately, there is so much paperwork involved that a lot of people don't apply for the money. We have learned how to do it pretty well so that we do apply for it and have been able to get approximately, I would say, around $40,000 back on an annual basis.
Have we ever been refused the money?
No, the money has not run out so that we would have been refused, but
My understanding is E-rate is continuing to dry up. I don't want to use the word they're phasing out the program, but they're looking at E-rate as one of these areas that they may start looking to cut back on available funding. That's the rumor.
that has not happened yet. And again, we have received reimbursement for those applications that we have submitted. Anything else?
I'm all set, thank you very much.
Adriana?
Back to page 404. Is there anything that you might be able to attach to me for the areas that you zeroed out, just like 7 or 8 line items that you completely zeroed out? Can you give me an idea of when you plan to readdress these issues? And again, it could be that, you know, you need to go back to because I mean,
Right. It would probably take a while to go line by line through
Yeah.
them, but I could write something up for
Yeah,
that. But
sure.
in general, what we do each year in about mid-September, I ask the building administrators, the head custodians at each school, and our maintenance department for a list of any special requests, anything that we would need to address in the following year. And we take that whole list and then spend a couple of weeks pricing it out, and then put in the request, which you see the first column, 313,000.
yeah.
After that, we start the first budget review. The superintendent gives me a number to try to shoot for, so we prioritize some of these things, either cut back on them or eliminate them completely, and then wind up doing that again. Next year, we'd have the same process. There may be a lot of these items that we cut back on or were eliminated that will come back up as another request, or there may be other items that become more important. Sometimes in the course of the year, we may have to address some of these things that are on here in the course of doing renovations, carpet replacement. If we have some carpet we had planned on replacing but was cut from the list, and then for some reason either developed tears or we had some water leaks on it and had to replace it, became an emergency replacement, then of course it wouldn't show up on the list the following year.
So in no instance, something has been taken away where there's a safety issue, as you mentioned earlier for Dan and stuff? Because, I mean, it's practically a 50% decrease from the original wish list, so I just want to, you know,
And
make
and
sure.
and that's typical, but we always look at safety as one of the first things. And if something has to do with safety, then it usually stays in and gets done pretty quickly.
Thank you. I actually have, I don't remember what I did. Oh, yeah. On page 411, the area of grounds and upkeep, there's a $13,000 earmarked for a front-end loader winter rental. Is that something that we do every year, or is there some other type of program or purchase or lease buy that we should maybe be looking at that might be a little bit more cost-effective?
We started a couple of years ago leasing a front-end loader. Actually, about 4 or 5 years ago, we took on the care of our parking lots ourselves. The highway department has all they can do to handle the roads in town. And what had happened in the past is when they were done with the roads, they would come and they would help us with the large parking lots. And we took that on ourselves in order to have better control over the parking lots. Not that the highway department was doing anything wrong, it's just that they had their priorities that they had to take care of first. And there were times that we had activities or things going on that we needed the parking lots cleared. And we have two 1-ton trucks, which are heavy-duty pickup trucks. And in a moderate snowstorm, they're just not capable of pushing the snow in the parking lots. There are 9-foot plow blades on them, and sometimes they can only push 3 or 4 feet at a time. So it can literally take 4 or 5 hours to do the parking lots, and really gives the trucks a beating. We've had transmission problems with them.
This is a rental, or is
So,
this a
so what,
lease?
yes, what we did
Okay.
is we tried for a couple of months, and this is a big business, with construction vehicles that are not, there's not a big use for them in the wintertime, so a lot of companies that own them will rent them out for snow removal purposes. And that's why you see them in Shaw's parking lot in Hannaford, they're parked over in the corner.
Oh.
That's a rental, and the contractor will use that to do the parking lots. They have a huge 12-foot scoop on them, and nothing stops them. They just keep going and push the snow out of the way. So yes, we pay for that. That's November through April rental each year. We only used it a few times last year, but when we need it, we really need it. We can do the high school main lot in under 2 hours with one of those trucks, and it saves wear and tear on the 1-ton vehicles, yes.
And then, I'm sorry, I have one final question. In the maintenance trust fund area, the additional $30,000, the high school paving for main parking lot, that would be phase 2 and final phase? Or, no?
Which one are you talking about?
For fiscal year '08,
Mhm.
fiscal year '07, you know, there was I believe a warrant article or something for that, for the original parking lot and driveway for the high school, correct? So now, in fiscal year '08, you have a little bit more, is that just the tail end?
We had received a quote a couple of years ago to repave the high school parking lot. I think the number was $135,000. And we carried that last year in the maintenance trust. And of course, everybody knows what happened to the cost of oil, and oil is what you used in paving materials. And we didn't actually go out to bid. Just during the engineering process, we knew that we weren't even going to be close on the number. We did contact a couple of contractors and talked with them, and there was no way we could do the parking lot for that $135,000. So we decided to just hold on to the money in the maintenance trust and ask for additional money and do it properly next summer.
So the funds are earmarked in '07, but you're actually
Those
won't
were
be doing the
saved to put
project?
towards the project, yes.
Okay, thanks, Chuck.
Mike?
Yeah, Chuck, on 404 again, and I apologize, because if you've already had some of this, I got here late. Adriana mentioned, and Dan pointed out, 7 of the projects didn't make the cut, so to speak, but the vast majority did. In other words, out of 41 projects, almost all of them made some kind of cut. That would indicate to me that each one had high enough priority that they felt, it was felt that it needed to be done. But when I look at a list of this size, typically I would think that more projects would not make it if you had a prioritization that said, we can't live without this project. So I'm just kind of wondering why so many of the projects do move forward versus prioritizing it so that the must-haves make it in this budget. We don't end up kind of taking them out after the fact, because part of your summary says this account usually gets kind of 60%. So I'm just wondering why we would move everything forward as opposed to just going with, we got to have these folks, and then just spend time on that.
It's very difficult going through a list of this size and saying which, there are a lot of ties, saying which one has to go and which one should be dropped off.
Yep.
And it's a lot easier to look at them and say, okay, we're gonna do partial projects. If I take an example, just trying to find a good one. Replace floor tiles in the cafeteria. Ultimately, the best course would have been to pull up all of the floor tiles, to fill some of the cracks. There are some cracks in the slab in the expansion joints, and those are coming through the floor tiles. Do all of that, and then replace all of the floor tiles. In the first revision, we looked at, well, maybe we'll do half this year and half next year. And then the next revision, we said, well, why don't we just attack the areas where we're having the actual problems and try to work a design into it so we don't have to replace the entire floor. So that's the process on that one.
Okay. On the light fixtures for the game field, obviously that's the highest amount on here. I was kind of wondering if you can tell us how old are they and whether that's
those-
a cost that's borne
Those are the original,
always by the district.
those are the original light fixtures, were installed in around 1987, and I believe they were donated. It was a donation from a group.
I recall that, that's where I'm going with this.
And they've worked pretty well.
Let's call that same group. They still around?
They've, no, they're not. They've worked pretty well, but of course, it was done on the cheap.
Yeah,
The fixtures have required quite a lot of repairs over the years. We've been lucky
20
enough that
20
the-
years old.
Yes, the
Okay.
fire department has helped us out with their large truck, that we're able to go up there and do the repairs, but we're spending several $1,000s a year on repairs. They're not very energy efficient, and the lumens that we get out of them are not very good. So we're looking at replacing the fixtures,
Yeah.
so we can save some repair money and some energy money on them.
Yeah, any energy company credits or rebates or anything that can be tied into that?
Maybe.
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 Right.
Most of the energy rebates are for indoor lighting, and so we're not sure about this one.
Okay. And one other question, and this may come up during the capital lease thing, if that's a separate category. It looks like you want to purchase a new one-ton truck.
Yes.
Should we talk about that during the capital lease thing? Is that easier for you guys?
I would suggest that once we get through this part, that we go, as we have in the past, we'll go to the lease for the items that Chuck has in the lease.
Okay.
Well, Chuck is here, so
Okay,
very shortly, we can talk about the truck, Mike.
okay,
Like we did with Andy.
okay. So the net result, Chuck, is if your budget, it looks like it's going up 54,000 and change.
Mhm.
And really, the majority of that is driven by the district construction budget, essentially.
That was certainly the largest increase. Out of there's about 130 separate accounts. There
Yeah.
were increases and decreases in a lot
Fuel
of them.
stuff, we kind of know, we've learned over the last 2 years.
But the largest increase
Wiggle
was
room.
district-wide
Right.
construction,
Okay.
those projects, yes.
Thanks.
Chuck, you indicated some interesting figures at the beginning. I think it was 870,000 square feet, 200 and something acres,
Mhm.
number of buildings. A couple of figures. In the elementary schools, we talked about the square footage and number of employees and all that. Did I hear you right with, in south and north schools during the day, you have one custodian?
We have-
During the day?
Yes, one custodian on during the day at north and south.
And then during the day at Matthew Thornton, it's one in
One.
all day and then one in the afternoon.
We have one come in at 11 o'clock.
And the high school, how many during the day?
We have two during the day. We have another one that comes in to help with the lunches at the high school.
So you're running about 600 students per custodian during the day? Just approximately.
Could look at it, at the high school, keep in mind, we take care of the gym also, the two buildings.
And there's no other custodians during, well, there are custodians during the day available. They would have to be relocated from another school. I think that that's an important figure, so.
Yes, if we have special events going on and we run into problems, for example, if it starts snowing during the day, the grounds people and our building maintenance people, if needed, will help with the snow removal operations, or will help with lunches if there's something else that's going wrong that the custodians have to take care of.
The buildings, I know that we've all toured them during the summer, and we're extremely impressed with the quality of the buildings and the cleanliness of the buildings. I see 5 of the senior administrators in the audience, 6. You guys just give us a thumbs up or thumbs down on cleanliness. Thank you. I think that those are, that's very important that you're comfortable with them. Dan?
Hey Chuck, sprinklers. I know when we talk building committees, we try to make sure that we cover in some of those bonds, the sprinkler systems at other schools. But let's say, under the premise that we do not get a bond or we do nothing at South. Let's go with that premise. We're grandfathered in under code. At some point, are we required to address code revisions?
No, we're grandfathered in at South School and Matthew Thornton School.
Right.
Yes.
But legislation can change, so we're grandfathered in as of today.
As of today, yes, legislation could change. If there were a project, we would need to address all of the code issues. But right now, even though there are some deficiencies, they are allowed.
At some point, and I don't want to add work to your slate, but maybe within the next year, or maybe to that very tour that we take in the fall, could we get a list of, let's say legislation did change that we had to meet today's code.
Sure.
Could we get those items, and we talk sprinklers, but I'm sure there's other current code regulations
There's a pretty
that's
good list, yeah.
necessitated as well.
Yeah.
Just when we do the tours next fall. Thank you.
I think in past meetings, we had conversations. You had an additional employee that we were going to address.
I'm sorry, Steve, I didn't.
Was there
hear.
a staffing, in a previous meeting, we said we'd wait until Chuck came in to discuss a staffing issue?
We have no new staffing requests.
I believe it was the question about the Matthew Thornton and the elementary staffing, the allocation of the custodians.
So you have no additional, okay. Items on the capital lease? Page 552.
So furthermore, just see if there are questions.
Go ahead. I would touch on them.
Okay. Matthew Thornton carpet steamer extractor. That is a piece of equipment, as it says, a steamer. It's a deep penetrating for doing the hallway carpets. We have one at the middle school, works out very well. I'd like to have one at Matthew Thornton also. District office replacement of upright vac. Moose Hill replacement of a tank vac and these are industrial vacuum cleaners meant to run for an 8-hour shift, not the $49 one from Walmart. Matthew Thornton, a 175 RPM floor machine, that's used for stripping floors. It's a slow-speed machine. Carpet blowers, we have dozens of those throughout the district, and we use those anytime we do carpet cleaning, or if we put floor finish on. It helps to move the air around and helps to dry the carpet or the floor much quicker. Pressure washer for doing bathrooms. North School is also a tank vac. South School, $6,300. This is an auto scrubber. This is a battery-operated machine specifically for doing hard floor surfaces. We use it every day in the cafeteria. We use it every night in the gym. The one we have is 10 years old, and having a lot of problems with that. Middle school, a snow blower. We try to buy 1 or 2 snow blowers a year to keep rotating our inventory. High school, wide area vac. That is a 32-inch wide vac that is used on the hallways. We do have thousands of yards of carpet at the high school, and with the regular tank vac or upright vac, it would just take way too long, too many man-hours to do the hallways with them. So this is a specific vacuum cleaner for hallways. Replacement tank vac and upright vac. District-wide in grounds. Utility vehicle. This is similar to the golf cart. This is used to, it's a heavier duty one. We can put on hundreds of pounds of fertilizer, grass seed at a time, could drive out to the fields with them and do field maintenance at these vehicles. Looking for lawnmower, trailer, and trimmers. I did not talk about the mowing. Many years ago, when the highway department was doing the snow plowing and snow removal in the schools, we had one pickup truck, and we would help out here and there, but they did all of the snow removal for us. And over the years, that kind of changed. But at the time, in order to pay back the town, we paid for a contractor to do all of the grass cutting, not only at the schools, but also on town properties. So that's evolved over the years. We're now doing all of our snow removal. We're also, up until this year, paying for all of the grass cutting in town. And we went back and we looked at that. We did have some problems with the contractor this past year. And in working with Carolyn O'Connor of the town, we put together an RFP. We kept changing the specs on it as we fine-tuned it. But the bottom line is the plan that we have right now is the school district will take care of all of the playing fields, school playing fields, Laffa fields, and West Road fields. Take care of all the cutting and maintenance on them. And the town will hire a contractor to do the town common, Morrison House, this complex, and the areas right around the schools that are not playing fields. And we think that this is going to work out really well. We're going to have all of the playing fields in better condition, and it looks like the bottom line overall is going to be about $5,000 less. And this is going to be a good effort with our employees, our school district grounds employees, some temporary summer help, and the part-time employees that work for the town on their maintenance, all working together to come up with a schedule and take care of all of this. And in order to make that work, we do need to get an industrial mower and a trailer for that. The big item, the 1-ton truck. We have, as I said, we do have 2 1-tons. We bought one a couple of years ago, and this one is we purchased in 2000. And although it's only 6 years old, it'll only be 7 years old, and it has relatively low mileage. The hard miles, we've replaced the transmission once, replaced the head gasket, and part of the reason is the beating that this truck took for a lot of years trying to do the large parking lot areas. So we do need to replace it. We need a dependable plow truck because of the areas we need to do. And we're very optimistic that this new one should last much longer, maybe 10 to 12 years, as long as we keep leasing that front-end loader to do the large parking lot areas. And I think that is it.
George?
Chuck, can I just go back to the utility vehicle and lawnmower and trailer? The only reason we're buying that is because of this new agreement? I mean, we're getting a bigger
the-
lawnmower and stuff to do
The
West Road
the
and
mower is
Marfa.
part, yes, the mower is part of the agreement. The utility vehicle, we need anyway for our grounds maintenance activities.
Right, and you said that's, you figure between, that $5,000 that you said, you think is the savings, that's our budget, or is that a town-wide savings of $5,000?
That's a townwide savings, yes.
So it's got about a 2.5-year payback period? I'm gonna expend $12,700 to save $5,000 a year, so it's gonna take me 2.5 years to pay that back, right? Or am I mistaken?
You could, yes, you could look at it that way. What we're also doing is we're taking the money that we were using to pay the contractor, and we're hiring some additional help in the summertime.
Yeah, but that, I mean, that's a wash.
Right,
I would have paid the contractor, because now I'm just gonna use my own people.
But
Still
isn't
gotta
that,
spend $12,000 in equipment.
I'm not sure that it would, yes, the if we're
I
looking
mean,
at
I'm
it.
just using rough
If we're
numbers.
looking at
I
a
mean,
savings of about $5,000 a year, in 2.5 years, we would pay for the additional
And
equipment.
that
we have to put.
$5,000 is not your bottom line. That's split with the town. So our savings may only be $2,500 of that, yet we're expending the $12,000. See what I'm driving at? Is that $5,000 is not just the school district budget, it's the town budget. But the expense is the school district budget. It's $5,000 to the good back in my pocket as a taxpayer. But I'm still expending
The
$12,000.
bottom line from the whole thing, yes.
Okay.
Chuck, doesn't this change have like a $30,000 impact on our budget? But it's $5,000 overall between the two towns?
That's correct.
Okay, so, yeah, so in essence, it's, if you want to, it's $30,000 in a sense off our budget, and it's a $5,000 net savings for the town. Okay.
Right, but it's still in the same pit, and I'm just going
Yeah.
back to my same pair of
Right.
pants, so. It's still a $5,000 savings that I'm expending $12,000 to get, so. It doesn't really save me any money until 2011.
But along the lines, a better result, better product.
And,
No, yeah, no, I understand that, I mean, you know, the Laffa fields, I think, are, you know, good, and West Road, so, I mean, we'll improve that, we'll improve our own fields here, so.
before we go
I'm
around,
just not sure this is the year to spend $12,000 for
You
better
use-
playing fields.
the other
we would
thing,
have to-
wait, before we go to Ron, in the conversation, you used the term utility vehicle. It's a trailer.
It's
No, it's the golf cart.
a golf cart type vehicle. It has an
Probably a
extended.
gator.
I'm sorry, no,
space
on,
behind the seat.
on the turf product, you were talking about a vehicle to mow the lawns.
We're talking about a utility vehicle, which would be the golf cart type working vehicle, and then also a lawnmower and a trailer for that mower.
Ron?
going over this again, and I think we need to look at the numbers. Right now, get rid of this, we increase our budget by $30,000. We have to put $30,000 in to cover it. What we have found over time, and here's the thing, yes, you get a better product, however, the contracts that we have, the first mowings are very cost-effective. The second mowings that would happen in a period of time between these original mowings are very, very expensive that were going on. So I think what's happening here is that the town is picking up their responsibilities for their facilities that they're doing here. We're chipping in on our stuff to do our stuff because we would need a second mower also for the fields that we do normally on this. So it's really a backup lawnmower to what we do to maintain the fields at the schools and things like that. So I think there's more of a savings than the $5,000. I guess that's where I'm having a problem. Because the town saved a bunch of money last year also by doing this on second mowings. there's more than a $5,000 savings on the table here.
The town started to do some of the second and third mowings, which saved us money because we had the contract with the vendor. So we didn't have to pay for and the contract only covered one mow per week. So it was an additional charge if a second or third one was needed. And the town started doing that. And that was kind of the trial to see how long it would take to do the fields, to do the cuts, to do the trimming, which is very time-consuming, and to make sure that if we went ahead with this, that we had the man-hours figured properly. So there is a large reduction in our budget, but the overall bottom line is about a $5,000 reduction between the school district and the town.
Paul?
So Chuck, it sounds then like until now, the mowing has always been done by a vendor that was paid for. However, it was paid for, but it was always a vendor. We didn't have our own personnel doing mowing.
Except for the school game fields around the high school, middle school, Matthew Thornton. We've always taken care of those ourselves.
Okay, so the incremental mowing is now also West Road and
Laffa
Laffa.
Fields, North and South School, Moose Hill, and then the areas right around the schools. We always had a vendor taking care of that.
okay, so that's the incremental amount of labor that we are now, for the first time, providing. And to what extent is that an impact? You're not adding any staff, any heads to your staff? Are you adding hours, net hours to your staff?
We are going to take some of the money we were saving from that contract,
Yep.
and we're going to put on, hopefully, college kids, responsible young adults, to take care of the mowings, because this is, and we've had a lot of discussion on this. This is not something that can be done, normal hours, Monday through Friday. We're going to have to find the right people, trained properly, take care of the equipment, willing to work flex hours. What happens if it rains Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then suddenly we have to mow for 15 hours a day for the rest of the week or into the weekend? So we're thinking college students that we can get in May and then go right into September with that.
So we're looking for a cheaper labor source than a vendor?
Yes.
Okay, and so we would carry the liability for those folks?
They would be school district temporary part-time employees, yes.
You're talking about blanket coverage.
Okay.
Thanks, Chuck.
Would that have any effect on workers' compensation fees, that type of thing?
No, but we have student employees, especially buildings and grounds. and some-
Yeah, I'm thinking responsible young adults with sharp blades. That's not-
And I don't want to rule out, if we found a responsible older adult, that would be great too.
And they have accidents, too. But, Mike, you had questions on the truck?
Yeah, actually, just to follow up on George's, because he asked what I was going to ask. The one thing that I'm concerned with, just as a Budget Committee member, because we have this holistic view of the budget and the one tax bill, that if the town and school, it's always my hope that whenever we do a joint project, that the savings are extracted as much as possible, and then we can go back to the taxpayer and say, see, by working together on these areas that are common to both groups, regardless of the fact that the governments are separate and distinct, that we have a real true savings. If all we're looking at is a net 5,000 debatable, we have to be real careful about how we sell this cooperative venture, because that's not the type of savings I'm looking for with these I'm looking for some real bang to the cooperative buck. So I think we should be careful with how we position this possible 5,000 savings. But anyways, on the truck, Chuck, this is a question that I ask on the town side. Can you just walk us through, if you're gonna buy a new truck, how do you source that truck? Where do you get it from? Is it bids, things like that? How do we ensure that we get a really good Are you gonna buy something other than GMC this time to make it last longer? Nothing
we-
personal?
We open it up to everybody.
There's a bid process?
Yes,
Okay.
there is a bid process. We have specifications in place. Most likely, what will happen is after we complete the bid process, probably go shopping. And we don't have to go with the low bidder. If we can go around and find a price cheaper than that, and the timing is everything, too. If we're looking for this type of vehicle, and we can get a model year end in July or August, we'll probably do a lot better also.
Are there local dealerships that have this type of truck?
Yes.
Are they part of this process?
In the past, we or the town, because the town gets the same type of vehicle.
Right.
The smaller ones. We purchased from Dobles, from General GMC in Methuen, and from Liberty Chevrolet in Wakefield, Mass.
Okay. Last question, I asked the same thing of the town. It was brought to my attention through a different relationship outside of the town government that, in another municipality down in Massachusetts, that they've had some decent success with the large auction sites that have a municipal, are municipal centric, and when you do a search, you kind of find a lot of these auction sites trading across the country, all kinds of municipal equipment, recreation equipment, town equipment. I'm just wondering if the school district has looked into that as one more option to pursue.
I have not looked at vehicles in that way, but we have been using online services for more and more for our purchasing. In fact, we, for our video security system at the high school, we just did a search yesterday, and we found a vendor pretty close by in Massachusetts. We can buy replacement cameras about $100 cheaper than what we have been getting them. So
Yeah.
I'd be happy to look into something
Yeah.
like that.
From what I was told, and it's anecdotal till you look into it, a lot of the equipment that's available is stuff like this utility lawnmower and truck that you're talking about. There seems to be a market for towns to pick up or school districts to pick up.
And what we're looking
at
at
a
doing
reasonable
is, this truck will not be on the lot the way we want it. We'd be getting the basic chassis, and then we have to send it out to a company that fits them up to put on the central hydraulics, the plow, the dump body, the sander.
Okay.
Other questions on the lease items for Chuck?
We skipped one item, page 5. Second one down is the lockers at the middle school.
Right, part of the lease, looking at replacing lockers in the boys' locker room at the middle school, and also the server for the video security system over in the gym building.
Okay. Thank you.
Chuck, thank you very much.
Thanks, Chuck.
As soon as Chuck wins his way back, Peter, you can start. Well, that's why we're giving you some time.
Get to repeat his emails again.
Obviously becomes a running joke.
Jim, could you hit, slow,
Very encouraging.
walk slow, Chuck.
Wait, Chuck saves $2 million, we can have a big party, right?
Yeah?
Shouldn't be too long.
Nope.
That's enough. No, I liked it the other way. Can you guys see the advertisement in the back of the room? This meeting is brought to you by Dell. I don't even have to turn around and look.
You're right so far.
Changing that, though. Well, that's firing up, it'll be up in 2 seconds.
George,
Coming up here, and
300,000
Brandon,
on
who
the
is the
energy, so.
contracted network administrator. Come on.
And Michael heard about the cookies in the other room. I'd recommend the ones that look like,
They're all good.
the chocolate chip cookies from the store, because they're not, once you get inside. See, Paul's got one of them.
Okay.
You want to tell them what page, Peter?
I thought we were talking about the cookies and you walked in.
Before we get started in the presentation, there's two thank yous I want to say. One is to the Technology Committee for their efforts, for their, I laid it up for you. Two groups, one is the Technology Committee and their efforts in assisting us and going through the planning and the discussions on how to move forward with technology district-wide. In efforts, obviously, the IT department focuses on the hardware and the network side. The other one I want to say thank you is to the superintendent, school board, and the community for voting in and approving the third hardware tech. That position I knew would be a blessing, and it's actually done more than I thought. A couple of little quick stats before we get in. We only have, as of today, we checked the school due work order menu. We have 8 open items today. That's, I mean, we went back last year and did the best we could, and we come up with a number of 22 open in this time frame. We didn't get the exact date, but in this time frame last year. We have done about 1,100 work orders processed through the school dude program from September 1st until we went December 1st. And the best one was, to our best calculations, we used the medium, and I'll briefly tell you, in the school dude, as part of the protocols that we're working off of, we have classifications of emergency orders, high, medium, and low priority. Basically, in quick, emergency is the whole the whole network is down, or large, or a segment in the network, or a segment, or an area is down that involves a large group of people. Email, munis, or library, the high school, middle school, that where it involves a large group of people. And then we work our ways down to high, medium, and low. And most of our incident reports come in pretty much medium, and then some of them are adjusted to high emergency based on the need. On the mediums, what we did was just a quick calculation to see how we're doing in meeting the protocols. Right now, on the medium classifications, we're down to an average of 8 days. What that means is, from the day that it's open to the time that it's being closed, we're averaging 8.5 days. Far cry from last year. The number we used, and again, this is kind of a rough calculation because we're going back a year. Remember, last year we were just starting to use this thing. We had an average of 30. So this one person, again, taking one person and expanding into the mix of all the district-wide processing of where IT has done immense. Just to go on, what we have in the IT department, we have 3 building techs now, as I mentioned. The way they're assigned, and it's by no means they're fixed in these buildings. There's one for the middle school, one for the high school, and one handles the elementary schools in Moose Hill. We have a district-wide database administrator and a district-wide network administrator. Just an overview of what the IT department does. We provide the support for all the hardware, the network, email, security, and internet connectivity. We provide software support for all the district-wide administrative programs. In that case, it'd be Munis, Destiny. We also have support for the firewall, for security, for the email system. We have the network administrator in charge of backup routines, anything that involves district-wide IT infrastructure needs or software needs, security is run by this office and these group of people. We also provide recommendations, as I mentioned, the tech committee. This group, mainly the three of us, and along with the building techs, provide recommendations to the tech committee for replacement schedule of all existing hardware, infrastructure, and improvements. First little spreadsheet I'll hopefully fire up. It's coming.
I know someone who'd be happy to train you.
We have 1,487 workstations district-wide. And the breakdown you see is high school, middle school, elementaries, and district office. 559 at the high school, 290 at the middle school, 607 at the elementaries in Moose Hill, and 31 at the district office. What we did in the next line where it says age of machines is categorize basically 0 to 3, 3 to 6, and over 6 years old, where the inventory currently sits. And what you see is obviously from July 1, 95 and 2000, 327 machines, and then going backwards, 508, and then the newer machines, 652. That's how the machines currently sit district-wide. What we did below, and this is a request from one of the members of the tech committee, was recommended for replacement, and that's just what it is. Looking at a cycle management program, trying to look forward 3 years, taking a look at the needs, taking a look at the age of the computers. What we thought, based on those priorities, didn't really put budget needs and tax rate and all that. What we thought, based on those parameters, the cycle management or request would be for upcoming years. And you look at, obviously, 319, 344, 384. That's strictly not looking at budget impacts, but simply based on the age of the machines, the needs coming up, so forth and so on. So that kind of gives a feel for what we're talking about. And what we're basing these on is the average life of these machines going out to 6 years. That's the guide that we're using for a lot of these machines. Now, as many of you know, what we do in the school district is as we buy new machines, a lot of it gets redeployed down to what we call lesser use or lesser demand needs throughout the district. There are some labs that run high performance programs such as AutoCAD, so forth and so on. And then there are areas where just access to the internet is all the workstation needs. And so what we do on a basis when we recommend replacements or redeployments to the tech committee, we look at what we need, and we look at where we can redeploy existing machines, and we also look at upgrades. You know, I'll get into some areas of upgrades in a few minutes. The other one I wanted to show you. Come on. These are the servers, and I got to scroll down the page. These are the servers as they exist today. And we'll explain when we get into the lease and where there are 3 servers being requested, what some of these colors mean. You get down to the current inventory of these things is 20. And that will change based on the proposed lease and the service being recommended. What we have for you on the left is, again, just a recommended replacement schedule, FY08, FY09, 10, again, based on age and based on future needs as we see the district moving down. Slide. That ain't working. Oh, goodness. Some of the, I wanted to show some of the accomplishments that the IT department's done over the last year. And then what I did was I started with the segmentation, because this time last year we started that. what we did was simply go from a flat network, and we segmented it out into various sections. And I want to say that the segmentation really done on Tom's watch went about as smooth, successful as we ever could imagine. I don't really even remember a large hiccup on the whole process. I thought, and I heard some feedback, the communication from the district office to the individual buildings, I think was a key. We made it clear to the buildings when we were going to do a segmentation on their particular building. We explained what we thought were some of the possible areas to watch. The IT department, for example, when we segmented, let's say, South School, the whole IT department was at South School in the morning, the next morning, to make sure that anything that was going wrong was quickly triaged and addressed. For the most part, we knew that many of the network printers that have static IP addresses were going to be addressed. I think the only thing we missed was, in our planning, the food service the food service hardware systems were static IP addresses, and that was the only area that we didn't catch. Obviously, after we did one school and realized that we missed it, that was put into the mix when we did the other schools. The library upgrade to a web-based system was done. And this was simply an upgrade to the existing program, but also to move it to a web-based platform away from a single, as I mentioned, a single database program. What that was, if those who don't remember, the library had a database or a server in every building. So you had individual databases for middle school, high school, and whatever. What this upgrade did, not only go to the web-based, newest and greatest version of the program, but also consolidated the databases into one. And now, as Susan mentioned, we're now at the point where we're allowing people on the internet to view the library circulation and see if they want a particular book or author, what books are outstanding, or where they're located. Summer work. The reason why I have summer work in here is some of the tech committee recommendations was to provide some kind of sheets to both the IT people and to the teachers. And one of the ideas was to have the teachers and the curriculum coordinators identify what needs they wanted or what their needs they expected, what programs and operating systems they expected to find. And they were both like signed off on and said, yes, this is what I expect to get when I come in here August 1st or whatever day it is. And then that process was done, and then we left on their desk what we did as IT tested. We tested, obviously, the operating system. We tested connectivity to the internet. We tested the email system. We did all the general IT stuff, and then the teachers were then asked to make sure before school starts that they test their particular programs to ensure that they can connect to the printer, that the database is what they expected to be. So any problems were addressed, hopefully, before school gets in, before the students arrive, or just right after school. And I thought this summer went particularly smooth, and I had to address that sheet of paper, or what you want to call it, that procedure, as one of the reasons why it was a much smoother opening from IT's perspective of school this year. Food service, almost the same idea as the library, again, where we had a server or a database on a server at the high school, same kind of thing at the middle school, and then we had an elementary server that handled all the elementary schools. This program was also consolidated into one database that allows better reporting from the food service department. And also, at one point, we were like 2 versions behind the vendor's level. Implementation of remote server. This was, again, a recommendation from the tech committee. This was done in order to allow a secured entry into the district network, and also those who require or need to get on their own individual workstations from, most of the time, home or remote area. The 2 groups that were started were the ad council members and also members from the SPED committee, SPED department, curriculum, SPED coordinators and so forth. And as we've as the need arises, where it's reviewed and then it's determined whether a particular individual can receive remote access privileges, and a couple others along the way. For example, Mike Dolphin in guidance has the ability to get in to his desktop and, perform whatever stuff he needs to do. The email purge, similar to segmentation, went about as smooth as I could have forecasted. The one area that we were real concerned about was older Macs, and the ability of them to connect to the network was a difficult process, and we had a workaround for the real older Macs, and that obviously, as we cycle through the older Macs, that problem will go away. We have not had a request from anybody to, oh my God, I lost a particular email, can you get it back for us? Sorry, I just envisioned someone along the line, not being aware or just simply forgot what the email purge is gonna do. That hasn't happened, and the next one is scheduled for, I think, January 5th. We gave them a lot of
I don't mean to
leeway.
interrupt, Peter, but there's way too many smiles, so somebody's going to have to fess up, but go ahead.
They're not going to fess up. And the last one was support, and I think I just wanted to mention I mentioned earlier that with the third person, personally from my desktop, I have seen a large drop in emails, please help me, so forth and so on. As I mentioned, there are only 8 open issues right now, and those will all get resolved, because as it is, usually during the Christmas week, we'll bring in 1 or 2 college kids and really catch up on all the stuff, and especially at the high school, where second semester usually requires a change in curriculum. Those kids, along with Roger, are now adding or removing, lab stuff to gear up for second semester. This semester, from a support point of view, with Tom here, with Brandon, and the 3 has been as smooth as I've been here the past 6 years. And I think a lot has to do with both the staff we have on board, the ed techs that help us out a lot, but I think a lot of it goes back to that third hardware person in the buildings being able to not only do the middle school, but we'll review school due reports, and if the high school was running, I'm just going to use numbers, 20 or 25, we can see a trend where he's falling behind. That person will pull from the middle school, bring him over to the high school for 2 or 3 days, obviously let the middle school administration know where he is, and then help that person catch up. If you go back, remember the high school, it has quite a bit more than the middle school. And that one person has really done a lot, I think, did a lot of work with the email purge and so forth, or allowed Wayne, who was the elementary school person, to really work on this email purge with the older Macs, along with Joe Oswald, and then let the person at the middle school catch up on the regular orders, the regular work orders that were being requested. In the operating budget, the small amount of lines, individual lines that the IT department has, is up $24,750. The whole $24,750 is in 2 particular lines. One is district-wide professional services, which is up $13,750. This area contains all the license and support contracts for information technology. What pages? On page 541, pretty much the whole page starts with Sophos antivirus, WebSense, Follett, Munis, EduScene, which is student management program we currently have, the internet provider, Veritas, which is the backup program we use. We have $10,000 under the heading of district-wide consulting. What that simply is a block of money that we ask to retain should expertise in areas that either we need help on, or if we get into a situation where there's an emergency and we just need some outside help for a particular project or a time frame, that's where the $10,000 comes in. The work order processing licenses, and then the Citgo switch, that is the main network switch. The other area of increase is in software. That's on the next page, and that's simply from the result of the request of monies to upgrade the current Crystal Report district-wide license for Crystal Reports. Crystal Reports is the district-wide program we use for all custom reports. It is used both with Munis, it is used with the student management program. It could be used with any of our major administrative programs, even on Destiny, for example. It is designed, if you don't know what Crystal Reports is, it is designed to interact with databases and simply extract data in a format, in a sorting capacity that is, that prevents to the end user materials and numbers that can be used for analysis of any kind. For example, all the expense reports that we've done, for Munis is on a Crystal Report. Even the budget book, a lot of the budget numbers, the pages, are actually done through a Crystal Report, and then we simply run it through and put it into Adobe to build the whole budget book. Tom is excellent with Crystal and has been able to keep pace with some of the customization requests coming from the schools, especially in the student management program. Just want to, the other area though that we'll talk about in software is, as you know, we license each year the MS Office license. It's the educational licensing. Right now, we have licensed, we have purchased 1,250 licenses. In the budget for this year, the expense for this year for that program was $53,500. So I've added, just made it $55,000. We expect to add a few more licenses to that. That's about $40, if you want to get down, about $42 for a license. That's the program that allows us to maintain and keep current with all the Microsoft Office licenses, desktop operating systems, so forth and so on. The last one I got. This is pretty much does the operating budget. Next slide just talks about pretty much what's in the capital lease, which obviously is the IT department has a large area for the large section of the cost. So we may want to just either talk about the operating budget itself, and then we can talk about the capital lease, and then go to the student management system as a separate item.
Let's, just, you can hold that slide. You're going to have to read that, because I'm sure the people at home can't see those letters, but we'll get into that in a moment. Questions on the operating budget for IT? Dan?
Peter, if you look at page 541.
Yep.
We currently have an annual contract with Edutain for $30,000 for our current SMS program. In the 2008 budget, which is 18 months from now or thereabouts, we're going to implement in the fall of 2008, if I'm not mistaken, the SIS system to replace the SMS in WinSchool. So do we get a relief for 1 year of the Edutain expense by supplanting this current system with the new system?
Well,
And therefore, why do we, if that's true, then why do we need 30,000 in the current budget?
There's two things. First of all, the group is deciding what path to take regarding a
what
new
group?
student management program. We could upgrade, or whatever you want to call it, to SMS, which would be under the guise of Edutain or whatever, or we could buy XYZ's student management program. In any event, if you remember, starting in September, which is FY08,
Right.
we would still, for the entire year, have to run and keep up and running the student management or WIN School program. If you remember, when we talked about the student management program earlier, and I'm sure we'll get into it in a little while, if we were to pick XYZ company in May and the board approved the dollars, somewhere in the area of September, October, November would be the training, mainly for the scheduling of the program.
Of 2007,
Yes.
right.
And then we would be then scheduling classes in January, February for September of 2008, and finishing the fiscal year 2008 with the current program we have now. When we're back here a year from now, we will know that we either stayed with SMS and upgraded the high school, middle school from WIN School to SMS,
Right.
or we've purchased XYZ company. And at that point, what you would see is then a much smaller dollar amount for EduTeam, because we'd only have them maybe a couple of months.
Right.
And then a support contract for XYZ Corporation continuing for FY09.
I think I understand that, and maybe for clarity, I didn't ask my question correctly. Do we currently use WIN School to the necessity of a 30,000 support contract? Do we use it in every school?
Right now, we have what's called SMS, which is the web-based program,
I'm aware of that.
the latest current version of the company from
Right.
Chancery, in the elementary schools in Moose Hill.
Right.
And there's a piece of that,
Right.
so to speak, for enrollment and so forth and so on, district information in the high school and middle school.
Right.
In the high school and middle school is the program called WIN School, which we've had for several years,
Right.
okay? From IT's perspective, it's WIN School that, from our perspective, is the program that needs to be addressed
Right.
because of its limitations,
Right.
its age, so forth and so on. We're using it as best we can. It wasn't made to do with some of the stuff that we have asked to do.
Again, I apologize.
That's all right.
Are we, why do we need to spend $30,000? What does EduTeam give us to support a program that really doesn't meet our, what do we get for $30,000?
Okay, for
Do they
$30,000
come rushing in here, or do they?
For $30,000, what you
Right.
you get online support or telephone support.
Do we use it? I know it gives us online capability for support. Does anybody ever deal with EduTeam
Yes.
to $30,000?
Again, it's two components. It's a contract for support for anything that goes wrong or breaks.
Right.
We also will engage extra fees, if you want to call it that, from EduTeam for scheduling mainly at the high school. Because of the complexity of the high school scheduling, we'll actually have classes conducted either at the high school or down, those of you who don't know, EduTeam's headquarters or corporate quarters in Londonderry. We'll go down, the high school will go down there with members and work through the whole scheduling process. He also assists us with the rollovers from year to year and upgrading and moving students, from one year to the other, from the middle school to the high school, from the 3 elementary schools into the middle school.
I guess,
So-
and I apologize for continuing this. Since we somewhat ascertained ourselves that we're going to look at moving away from this program,
Yep.
I guess, did we expend or did we incur $30,000 worth of costs last year? They give us a $30,000 placeholder. What I'm saying is, if we're in our last quasi-year and 2 months, would it make any sense to negotiate a per-hour rate? What did we consume last year in utilization of WIN School personnel?
Believe the
If you
number-
tell me 30,000, then I'm done, but I don't know.
I believe the number.
Maybe that's how it
I
is.
remember looking at it the other day was somewhere in the order, and she's looking for the exact number, somewhere in the order of like 27,000.
Well, since
Take into
we weren't
account-
abandoning it last year, so now we're abandoning it, do you believe that number would diminish this year? That's just a
I
thought.
understand.
You see where I'm going with
Yep.
this? Because if we're abandoning Win School, I don't think we'd throw the resources to it from a staff participation that a year ago at this time, we were still going down the path that that was the program of choice. Is that not correct?
If,
Now that we've made the elective determination that we're going to move into another platform for these services, why would I expend, I need to fix this, I need to fix that, I need to do this? It's just,
you would still need, I believe.
all
the
I'm asking
basic-
is if you get
That's
some
okay.
consideration
I
for it.
believe,
I don't need an answer.
that's all right. I believe the basic contract for support is about $15,000. That's basic support.
And I guess I'm asking, and I don't mean to be having a conversation.
No, that's fine.
All I'm asking you to do is say, does that 15,000 of support service our needs in a program that's becoming defunct in another
Okay.
12 months?
We
And
could-
that might also give us some elective determination to accelerate the training that we're going to expend anyhow
Right.
in the 2000, from May of 2008 forward.
Right.
I don't know, just a thought.
No, and it's a valid point, and I think if I knew today, for example, that we were going to XYZ company, just make that up, then we could probably cut this particular vendor down because we wouldn't be using him or them for scheduling, because we'd be
In the
moving to
fall of
XYZ.
2000.
Right. As of today, I don't know.
Well,
I could bring some of it down in anticipation, and we'll address that with our council and the superintendent, and
does the board
I think maybe
understand
we can-
my question?
Oh, I understand it.
I don't know either, so, thank you.
And to your question, Dan, also, before we unplug on that support, we need to make sure that the board and the community supports the $230,000 replacement software.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's,
Which we'll talk
Right.
over tonight, so
I certainly
we'll
understand that
start
too.
talking over tonight.
Yes.
I understand that, Steve.
But I understand, I mean, in the last years of software that I use, I'll just fly it alone and hope it works.
So where it goes, yeah.
George?
Peter, did I understand you to say that we have 1,250 MS Office licenses? Is that the number that I said
Yes.
out there?
Not all of them are connected to the network.
No, I understand that. How many Macs do we have that are running MS Office?
I don't want to use the word all of them, but quite a bit of them, and I can probably,
I guess what I don't understand is we got 1,400 machines.
yeah.
I can't believe that 1,250 of them are running MS Office. I mean, every Mac in the elementary schools, in the classrooms, I could understand one maybe for the teachers, but, you know, for the little guys, running those licenses. I don't want to belabor it, I just want to make sure we don't have more licenses than we can possibly use.
Do I have to turn this on, or is it on?
No, so anyone just talk to this?
I don't know.
I think I'm correct on this. This is the Microsoft Office Enterprise licensing, so we're obligated to license any machine that can technically run it. So it may or may not be installed on every machine, but any machine that meets a certain specification has to be licensed by the district.
I do believe that we have 1,250.
That would meet their baseline specification. But the other additional thing, too, is that this licensing fee also covers us for work-at-home rights, so that employees are entitled to purchase, it's just the cost for the media. I believe it's $7, so that they can install this full professional version at home, and many of our teachers do that so that they can work at home. So it covers the ability to use the high ends of the Microsoft product for instructional purposes. So just, if that helps.
Thanks.
Yep.
Mike?
You're on the $10,000 placeholder for consulting.
Yes.
How much did you use of that last year and the year before?
I believe the number we used last year, you know. I'd have to go back and figure out in that line, which one was for district-wide consulting?
Yeah, I'd be interested for the last 2 years of the placeholder, what we actually use.
And keep in mind, we could go 2 or 3 years, Mike, without using anything, and then run into a situation when the entire network has crashed or the emails crash and spend 20,000 in a heartbeat.
I know, but as a budget member, I view it differently.
Other questions on IT? Paul?
Peter, on page 557, account 2840, replacement equipment.
Paul, do you want to wait till we go through the lease?
Jumping to the lease now?
Be fine. I'll wait.
Okay.
We can go right into it. Capital lease?
Sure. We have new equipment, replacement equipment. Do you want me to run through them, or just?
Yes.
No, just do your overall pitch and then.
Yep, no problem. First of all, I can't remember what the template was. One second. Starting on 497, just education, we do these IT or tech templates that kind of give a summary of what the projects are and what hardware and software, so to speak, will entail. We try to identify the hardware, the software, and even other costs that may be involved in a project. For example, I'm just going to use Lab ABC. In the old days, might have just identified hardware, software, and a server, but then we find out that it's $10,000 of running, of improving the power in the lab because it wasn't built for 25 computers or whatever. So these templates try to give a view of the total cost, not just IT, but if there's maintenance costs or power costs that are involved to do what the project is asking to be done. On page 556, at the bottom, under the heading of new equipment. We will skip the student management program for now because we'll just get to the hardware and then talk about that later. What we have is Mac computer for the regular ed video class. This is not your standard Mac at $1,200, whatever. This is a more high-powered Mac workstation to handle the video requirements of the regular ed video class. That's why you see a price of $2,100 there. The reason for this, for the request, and I think the tech committee approved it. In fact, tech committee, to my knowledge, has agreed or approved the items that are on these pages. Is enrollment, increased enrollment in both the regular ed video class, and then further down in a minute, you'll see equipment for the voc video class. New backup tape device. This is redundant service, so we'll have 2 tape backup devices in operation. A couple of reasons for that. Right now, we only have 1. So if the 1 dies, we've got backup issues. Also, the amount of time that the 1 is required is getting excessive. So by splitting it into 2, we'd have a quicker backup routine, but also have redundancy. So if 1 did fail, we've still got a backup device to handle the backup routines. Mac Pro Books is for the video class. And the new music lab, I think Mr. Andy Susi went through it in pretty detail as to what that's encompassing. The Mac Intel, the Mac workstation, again, 2 for $2,100. And then below it, the software for both the music, and then there was a discussion of a math program that wants to use computers. We feel that we can address the hardware needs with redeployment of used or current equipment, and this is just to purchase the software for that program. And then the Destiny Textbook Manager. This is a pilot or starting to engage the idea of scanning in textbooks that students are using, and mainly this particular discussion is at the high school. On the next page, we get into replacement equipment. The first one is 2 network servers, and these are to replace, and I can bring the schedule up if you like. In fact, yeah, I can do that. Hold on.
Jim Elefante, could you come forward to a microphone? It's an old radio guy, it's a dead air thing.
Want me to sing or anything?
No, no, that's, we have Sue set up. Sue's set up for that tonight at 10:02. At the school, at the high school, we have a large number of computers and high-value computers in some locations. Have you had any losses? Theft is where I'm going with that.
This year, no. Last year, I believe we lost a laptop. But this year, we've had none. And I know the cameras certainly help. And also, we made a real strong effort on the teacher's part, and also IT's part, to secure whatever valuable equipment we have.
And I know we have labs with rows and rows of equipment in it.
Yep.
so-
Now, those labs have been intact. As I said, last year, we lost 1 laptop in the classroom.
Okay, thank you for that.
Servers behind you, where it says FY08, you have High Lab, WebSense, DO App Server. Gotta just pick my thought for 1 second. These 2 here are the standard replacement servers that we've purchased over the last years. They are the ones on the top line that says 2 for $6,000. The WebSense, for those who don't know, is our filtering database software program. And the one above it, where it says Super Micro, whatever, file and print server, WinSchool and staff accounts. That's what those 2 servers would handle. Okay, a little further down, actually the end, I get the servers top and bottom. On the bottom, where it says a server for $12,000. What we're doing with this is identifying, again, kind of looking out 2 or 3 years and addressing some needs. And what we actually feel is we can actually, over the course of a year or 2, replace, with this 1 server, if it's approved, replace or take out 3 or 4 servers over the course of a few years. What we've identified is this server would take care of the needs of the high lab, take care of the data storage that's for old payroll financial records. Down the road, where it says FY09, this server would replace this one as the backup server. And then also down the road, if you go down to the middle school, with FY10, again, we talk file and print services, WinSchool and staff accounts. this one server, in our estimation, could handle all of this. And the reason why is, what we've talked about, except for the backup routine, we're not talking about applications, we're talking about storage of data. Yep, sir. Right now, as we talked about, as we talked about the student management system a couple times, we need to keep Win School, a server in the high school and a server in the middle school until we get off of the old Win School program. Once that happens, you really don't need servers of the size we've got in all the schools, middle and high school, for example. The reasons why you had these servers in the middle and high school was you have Win School, which is a single-based program, and then for a while, up until a year, you had Follett, or the library system, which also had a single building database for the library circulation. As we move off those two, the large needs of the middle and high school servers can be done for file and print and domain controller, and then simply all the storage needs can be pulled back in this one server that will be housed at the district office. So by purchasing this $12,000 storage server, as we're calling it, we're hopefully can take out somewhere in the order of 3 or 4 servers as we go 1 or 2 years down the road. That's the idea of what we're trying to achieve with that one big server. Any questions on the network servers? Yeah.
Go ahead, Adriana.
You
You first, then George.
Oh, it doesn't matter. I don't understand it, servers. So, on page 557, up at the very top, you have a network server 2 at $6,000.
Yes.
And then at the very bottom, you have one
Right.
server to replace 2 at $12,000. That's the large one that would be at the
Yes.
district office? And then the 2 up above would
The
be?
2 would be, there's one called, if you look in
Those first 2 purchased in,
this one here, it says WebSense. You need a single standing server to handle the filtering processing that goes on or before you come on, before we go out to the internet. And then for now, this one up here, where it handles file and print, and the big one is right now is Win School is what the inhibiting factor is. Once we get off of Win School, most likely we can take that server and maybe redeploy it to somewhere on the FY09, FY10 needs. But we need to keep that on there until we've gone through the year, as we talked with Dan earlier, so we get around to July of 2008, and then we're off the Win School program and on to some other kind.
okay, thank you, Pete. Sorry.
George?
Peter, you gotta refresh my memory. I know we talked about it in the tech committee, but why are we buying a tape backup? Why are we still using tape technology?
I have both Dan's not here, Tom and Brandon here, so they're probably more, go ahead.
Well, we have a tape backup unit now, and we're recommending the purchase of another unit that's the same type of model, but a newer version. The model that's running right now is 3 years old, and it backs up an incredible 2.5 terabytes of data a week, which is a huge amount of data. On the weekends, it runs 24 hours a day. During the week, it runs 12 to 14 hours a day. It really can't take this kind of beating and be reliable for a long time. So that's really the reason why we're recommending its replacement for next year.
Okay.
And the reason we're going with tape
That's what I
is,
wanted.
as opposed, really the only alternative to tape would be an online disk storage array. I don't know what you have in mind. Maybe you could share that with us, but.
No, that's what I leave to you guys.
Okay. Well, an online, backup to disk would be very, very expensive. Right now, even though we're backing up 2.5 terabytes of data every week, we've set up the tape rotation so that we can go back any one day over the past 3 months, and then we'll archive every other 3 months. So we can go back, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, But within the past 3 months, we can go back to any single day, which, if you do the math, 2.5 terabytes a day, going back 3 months is a lot of data. And to store that on disk would be, in our opinion, prohibitively expensive. And also with
What kind of number are you talking about?
for the amount, well, we're looking at 1 terabyte, the $12,000 server that we're recommending for storage is for 1 terabyte. So you can extrapolate from there. If you're talking about 2.5 terabytes a week over the course of 3 months, you can do the math. It's beyond, I think, what people would be willing to entertain. Not only that, though, but tape is more robust, in our opinion, and in the opinion of most IT professionals, in the sense that if you back up to disk, you're still dependent on that disk, its controller, the operating system for the server it's running on. All those have to be in working condition to access your data. With tape, it's unlikely that the tape will have some sort of corruption issue, but it's possible. But if that was the case, you could go to the previous day's tape. So the tape is really pretty resilient. It can be brought off-site, which is what we do. We rotate the tapes every week after they run. We bring the tapes to a special room in Matthew Thornton that is not near any server. So if we had a catastrophic event at the district office where most of our servers and data reside, or down at Moose Hill where Munis and the tape backup systems reside, we still have our data at Matthew Thornton. It's safe. And, really, in my opinion, when you're looking at IT, the infrastructure is important, the access to the internet is important, but what is most important is the data that describes your students, their performance, their transcripts, their attendance, all the essentials of student information. It would just be awful if some of that disappeared. For those reasons, we're recommending purchasing a new tape backup and staying with tape.
Thanks, Tom.
Ron?
Peter, let me ask a question. We're buying the network server, the $12,000 server,
Yes.
and we're buying 2 other servers. You had mentioned that there were probably 4 servers that could be put onto the $12,000 server.
Yes.
Could we take a couple of those if we accelerated it and use a couple of those servers to take care of the 2 network servers for a period of time so we didn't have to buy those servers this time? Don't buy the $6,000 servers this year. However, use the ones that you said, 2009, 2010 servers to meet those needs for the time being.
We thought about that, and one issue we have, at least with one server, is, where is it? Is this one here. The one up at the high school that has this right here, Win School.
Yep.
And I understand, and believe me when I say, Tom and I and Brandon, go around and around, and we throw the what-ifs, and we drill each other, and I drill them, and so forth and so on. And the question I said to is, okay, guys, I have to go in front of the school board and the budget committee and say we need to spend $6,000 for a service, Win School, that most likely, or hopefully, goes away in a year. And the answer both of them came back with, and I'm blaming them, just said, yes, that's true, because because of what data that Win School has, and given the fact of the age of the server, if you roll the dice on that one particular server and we lose big. And that's why I said, if worse comes to worse, we run this for 1 year, and then maybe take that new $6,000 server, let's say Win School goes away, and bring it down, and maybe we don't need to buy this one, or we'll redeploy it into those FY09 brackets. We just don't, from our opinion, we just don't want to run the risk of this server going down on us, and we missed by X months.
Okay, I guess what I'm saying is, can I take the server? I'm not arguing that it's old and needs to be taken off. But why couldn't I take that and move it down to the, let's say, the one that you were going to replace in FY09 and put it on the $12,000 server? accelerate taking, and I'm just gonna pick one here.
Okay.
The files and print services for Win School and staff accounts, and move that to the new $12,000 server, and take the server information that you were gonna put on the 6,000 and move it down there. Just do a swap of information and not buy those two servers, and accelerate moving everything to that bigger server so we can get the utilization out of it, save $12,000, and still have a better server for the Win School and another server for a year or so.
The $12,000 server we are recommending is strictly for file storage.
Right.
Nothing else. It's really suited and created to store files and not run applications, not, especially Win School. In addition, Win School doesn't, its recommendation is to install it on a standalone server, nothing else. That's it. And that's a strong recommendation, and we go with that.
Didn't we just say, or maybe I missed it, I thought we said that there was 4 servers that we're gonna incorporate into this over time. I thought that was at the beginning of the conversation.
Yes, but what we're saying is, Ron, is this. This one here, it will replace, for now, the one called High Lab, which is your student server. It replaced the one called Old Payroll and Financials. And then next year, let's say, or in the course of the year, we would roll over the backup routine so that you wouldn't need to buy, let's say if we followed a replacement cycle, we wouldn't be asking for this particular server. What we're saying is, there's 3 servers being taken out of service in the course of a year for this one. What we're saying in addition to that, once this goes away, okay, poof, it goes away. Maybe down the road where it says Munis Financials or the district server, we wouldn't be looking to purchase that next year. We would move these services, just as an example, to one of the $6,000 newer servers. And so maybe and then, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do, but I guess I'm missing my point. Why can't I, instead of buying one of those servers, when I move the district backup server and backup exchange to the to the $12,000 server,
Yep.
why can't I use that server, that it's free, that's good, to meet one of the needs of the $6,000 servers? That's all I'm
We'll
saying.
look
It's
at
not, don't pay those $12,000 this year if you get the big server.
Okay. Well, we can take a look and, see if it,
Thank you.
Can you go back and highlight the Munis server again?
right there.
It's a moose.
Host name is Moose.
The Munis software runs on that server?
Yes.
Is there any other machine that's running the Munis software?
Not the server section. The client, it's split in half. There's just server section that stores the data and offers it up to the clients on the PCs. So Munis is run on many clients, but that's the only server that runs the server section with the data.
So, and that machine was purchased in 2002.
It was purchased on, we installed Munis on I guess I'll use the word used or in inventory server. We did not purchase a new server.
So we're running a $250,000 software program on a 2002 machine.
Correct.
Okay. Thanks. Other questions? Mike?
Yeah, a couple, just data point questions, and I apologize, because I wasn't here for Andy's, evidently his talk on the music lab. The difference in the desktop price of $1175 for those versus the $675 for the workstations. Just wondering, is that $500 difference the headphones and the carts, or is there anything else that makes those more?
Yes. That's in call inclusive, so it's the workstation, it's a card,
Keyboard.
headphones, that's all like an encompassing unit.
And these-
Keyboard, but not as a PC keyboard.
So these 675, the 100 desktops at 675, what is that?
That's a standard Pentium desktop clone, IBM clone that we've purchased over the years.
Okay. And just a general question for me, and I apologize again if it's been gone through before. The reason we continue to have a Mac and a Windows, a dual environment in the school district, is it required? Is it out of habit?
No, it's not required.
Because someone
I wouldn't
likes
say
it?
It's out of habit. I think what we've got is, first of all, I'll say, that's probably on the docket of the tech committee as the next issue to address. It's not as easy as one would think to simply take X amount of computers and make them all, and get rid of the Macs and put all IBMs there. Because the issue you're gonna have to address is the purchasing of all the software that's currently loaded on all those Macs would have to be addressed, as well as the purchase of workstations. So it's not an easy just get rid of them, buy the workstations at $675 and be done with it. Plus, there would be somewhat of a learning curve to move the faculty in the 3 elementary schools in Moose Hill. Well, you shake your head, but there will be a learning curve to move them from the Mac world environment.
I have
to an IBM world.
confidence they'd pick it up. It's not that bad. So why would we, if it's on the front burner for the tech committee, why would we want to do the 35 Macs right now? Isn't that something we would, if that's in the radar screen for the tech committee, why would we want to do this right now?
Because you've still got Macs that need to be addressed. And the Macs that we will be buying have what's called a dual boot capacity. They can run in the
I know what that is.
Okay, so if nothing else, if we did decide September 1st, let's say, we're moving to the IBM world, the Macs we purchased this summer and these 35 Macs that we purchased here could run the Intel chip and run it in a Windows environment.
Okay,
But the need still exists in order to do something.
okay. Last question on that. It looks like there's $215,000 in new and replacement equipment out of this total.
Yeah.
Does this represent, and you mentioned the tech committee approved all this, does this represent the entire tech committee's plan that they came forward with this year? In other words, they came forward with, this is the plan, was there any scrubbing of this, or did the district say, we accept the whole plan?
I can say yes, there was a significant amount. As we went through, we had a significant number of requests as far as technology and technology purchases. What you're seeing here is a result of the vetting process that we went through. Over the last several years through the technology committee, the process that we've used is the development of technology templates, presentation to the technology committee, vetting there. Then as we go through the budget process, vet it at the administrative level, and then come back to the technology committee for final imperature, if you will, be going for the budget, so.
Okay, thanks.
Yes.
Chairman, do you want me to finish the descriptions of the replacement computers, or just take them as the questions come up?
This is a good breaking point. Adriana? Then we'll go back to your discussion.
I actually need you to go back to page 542, I'm sorry, in the software section, where it states Crystal Reports.
Yes.
Can you tell me what that is and how?
Yeah, Crystal Report is the district-wide program we use for custom reporting. The two main ones we use it for would be for Munis and for the current student information system. Both packages come with a set of, as the word is used, canned reports. But every district in every town would have a set of reports that are to their liking. For example, the expenditure reports that I present to the school board on a quarterly basis, that's actually a Crystal report that's been designed to incorporate with the Munis program. All the budget pages, not obviously the narratives, but that's a Crystal report that we simply produce and then run it through Adobe to build up the budget book. We are about 2 versions behind on Crystal Reports, and the new version or platform has much better security features than the current one.
Go ahead and continue, Peter.
Oh, I'm sorry. After the network servers, the two for $6,000. Again, these are just all replacements, 70 computers. The description you see there, where it says Power Elite Workstations. I apologize for that, that's more of a terminal that we're having. What these are is, there's about 140 workstations in the district that we did a major upgrade to about 3 years ago. And we spent a fair amount of money. These are about 100, at that time, it was about 175 machines. We had to do something to keep them running. They were designed really to last 2 years. They've lasted 4 years, this upgrade. It is getting to the point where they are, in IT terms, the #1 priority to move out of the inventory. There's 140 of them left. The presentation to the tech committee was to do this in 2 steps, because there's 140 of them. There will be 70 this year, and there'll be 70 the exact same reason next year. To give you an example of what's happening with these, if we leave these on, I feel bad for Mr. Zappler. I'm encroaching on his energy management program, because we have asked them to leave these 140 computers on all the time. If they get turned off for an extended period of time, when I mean extended, I'm talking 5 minutes, I'm not talking hours or days, they lose connectivity to the network. And then each one of them is requiring somewhere in the order of 30 minutes each to reconnect these things back to the network.
This is after only 2 years of use?
These are 4 years of
Okay.
upgrade. They
Peter-
were about 3 years old before that. So we're talking about 7 or 8 year old original initial machines.
Okay.
And so, as I said, these 70, and then there's 70 more, or you'll take a couple, that when we presented the program to the tech committee, is to do 70 this year, and then do 70 next year. The next one is replacement workstations at middle school lab. What we'll do with these is, in reality, there's the 6th grade classroom, I think it is, 219, I believe, 279, that is in need of computers, okay? The needs, and when we do is we look at the needs of the labs or workstation end user and match the hardware to meet what their needs are. This particular lab doesn't really require new computers, but needs better what they have now. So what we're doing is we're purchasing 30 computers for room 173. The computers in 173 would be, as we call it, redeployed down to 279, and then 279 come out of inventory. We have $13,000 for network infrastructure improvements. We're talking switches, UPSs that are in desperate need, and disk array, and so forth and so on. We have administrative notebooks. We have workstations at the district office. We have the 35 Macs that were brought up earlier, and we have some replacement Macs at the regular ed video class, some network printers at the LHS and LMS libraries.
Paul?
So Peter, when we look at this category of computer systems replacement equipment, we've got servers, workstations, infrastructure, Macs, printers, the whole gamut.
Yes.
Every year, there's going to be a need for things on here, new sets of things.
If you go back to the spreadsheet, when I was going through the initial presentation, we brought up, again, not looking at costs or tax impacts, budget impacts, based on age, needs of computers, you're looking at somewhere in the order of I'll say, some 150 to 225 machines. Based, again, strictly on age, without looking at budget impacts and what we can afford and all that. Simple numbers, if you're looking at a 6-year lifespan of our workstations, and you got 1,400 of them, let's, a little more, let's just use 1,400, and simple math says, in order to maintain the 6-year life cycle, we're gonna be looking at somewhere about a little over 200 machines every year in replacement to keep that 6-year replacement cycle going.
The 200 machines plus the ancillary items, the
Right.
printers,
Again,
switches.
behind you is, again, not looking at budget impacts, looking at the age of the servers and what they do to kind of make sure that the servers don't die on us. There's, again, a draft of what we discuss would be replacement of network servers.
Okay, so that certainly makes sense. The current year budget's 50,000. What's shown as expended or encumbered is about 60,000. To your knowledge, is that number gonna grow much for this year?
No.
That's pretty much,
The lease is done.
okay, so that's.
This year's lease,
Okay, so last year, in this category, the leases was about 44K. This year, it's about 60K. We're proposing for next year about 150K. Can you give me some sense, just because those are ramping up kind of fast,
right.
can you give me some sense to what can you put it in a little bit of a big picture for me, looking downstream? Should we expect to see something, give or take 50,000? Should we be expecting as the next 09 comes, 010 comes, should we be looking in the 100 to 200K range each year?
I mean, if you look at the FY07, which is the current year we're in, the lease, the approved lease was for 52 machines. Okay, so, again, looking to straight line projection, if you've got 1,400 machines and you want to keep them for 6 years, you gotta be looking at somewhere on a straight line basis, 200 machines. So if you go through a year where you only replace 52 or let's say 100, make it easy, 100, somewhere on the line, you're gonna start backing up the schedule. You're gonna start seeing, as I mentioned in that spreadsheet earlier, somewhere around 300, and as you fall behind on a 6-year recycle management program, the number of aging computers obviously gets larger and larger as you're only replacing, let's say, 50 a year. 150 are moving into the next bracket. So somewhere at some point, I would say, I wouldn't say 200 machines, because we'll do some upgrades and we'll do some switching out of hardware. For example, in the presentation and on my operating budget, there was a line in there that said maintenance or upgrades of computers, I think designed in the area of the tech-rich classrooms. What we're doing is we're gonna take $7,500 of that $40,000 maintenance line. We're gonna buy the parts and components, and then use the labor at the repair class in the high school to then upgrade the computers that are there. And we can do that because based on the chassis and whatever, sometimes it is cost-effective, depending on what case and so forth, and what age of the computer is, to do it, than it is at some of the older ones. So there's a bunch of them, I can't remember the exact number now, that we're gonna just upgrade and actually make them look like and smell like new, so to speak, but they won't be. But they won't be part of the normal inventory that gets phased out. So I would say the number that you'd see replacement on an annual basis is more like 100 to 150. That window is what you'd be looking at.
Plus miscellaneous printers, servers, what?
Yes.
Okay. One last thing,
It's
Steve?
Could I just pick up on one quick point too, Paul? One of the things that we also did at the elementary level was go to gang printers too. If board remembers, we had a discussion. So as a way of being more cost effective, we've gone to gang printers at the elementary level, so 4 classrooms in effect share a given printer. And we've been able to do that effectively this year. So instead of having a printer in every room, we've got in a sense, a gang printer. Also, too, what we've also tried to do, and Peter, I believe, has mentioned it, is our copiers have the capability of also printing. So, for instance, if we're doing special ed reports, because it's networked up, we can then send it to the copier and get it printed out there. That's also been very effective for us also. And this is more for the budget committee than the board, because the board is aware of it. The technology committee over the last several years went through and developed a matrix based on utility. So we actually went through every single program and every classroom, in essence, and made a determination as to what particular software was needed for that particular course or that particular program. Then based on the utility of that was needed on to run that particular software, we then assigned a category number for that particular hardware or computer. So we matched up the specs for the computer to the exact utility. So we don't go through and say, okay, we're gonna go through, we're buying all high-end stuff every place. So what we do is we match up the utility with the specs. So when we go out and buy, if we're buying for some of our science classes, we may have a higher, because it may have higher specs, we'll buy a different kind of machine than we would, let's say, for an English class that is using it in a different way. And we match that up. We're also, too, as we cycle through, we'll take some of the older machines, and Peter has been very good at this, and redeploy them through the system. So if we're buying, just as we mentioned here, if we're buying new machines for Class X, the result is we're going to take the machines that were in Class X and we're going to move them to a new location so they can begin their second life on the second floor as opposed to the third floor or the first floor. So we've been very, I believe, astute in matching up instructional needs and administrative needs to the particular specifications of the machine. We've got different categories, and depending on what the needs are in that particular class or for that particular function, match up the hardware. So it's not like we're buying a super machine that's going to be basically doing word processing. So we're just trying to match it up that way.
Paul, behind you, I brought back the spreadsheet, and again, this is more of a draft and a planning document or tool, whatever we want to use. When you look at the age of machines in the far right-hand corner, July 1, 95, June 30, 2000, you look at 327 machines that are reaching the 6 year or over 6 years old. So, as you know, those that's what we look at, and then that's how we kind of planned out or on a draft basis. This hasn't gone to the tech committee, or this is just us trying to get a feel for almost answering the question you said. You know, what can we be looking for on an annual basis? And I don't think 319 by no means is the number, but just looking at needs and age, you're looking at an aging inventory. Right now, you've got 327. So if we were going to say 6 years old, done, you know, time to replace, we'd be here today asking for 327 of them, and we're not.
And so last thing, similarly, the workstations, we're looking at 18 workstations for the music lab. We would think sometime down the road, 6, 7, 8 years, what have you, inevitably
Same idea.
would need to be
Yep.
part of this
You could put in the
renewal
mix,
program
right.
as well, right?
Yeah.
As we add new things, more need to be replaced. Thanks, Steve.
I'm going to go to Ron, but before I do, Peter, you don't need to bring the slide up again, but you quote 6 years. There were 327 computers, at least 6 years old.
Yes.
And I saw there's a range there as old as 11 years. So, Ron?
Yeah, the numbers here is really, the numbers for the last 2 years have been suppressed. If you remember back a couple of years ago, we said we were going to hire a consultant to review everything and make a decision before we started buying computers. So we limited the number of computers we bought that year, which is 2 years ago. So that's 1 year we compressed the number. Last year, we made a concerted effort when we came up on the tech committee with the, what does a special classroom, what does the classrooms need as technology in that classroom, what hardware do they need? One of the things we found is a lot of our computers, by adding memory to the computers, brought them up to another standard, and we spent a significant amount of time. We didn't buy new computers overall. We spent a significant amount of time to upgrade, I think it was almost 300 computers.
Well, it's
To-
about 350.
350 to bring the standards up so we can extend the life on those computers. The only thing that was missing was the memory. So those are two things we've done in the past, and that's why the numbers are in the, you know, the $40,000 and the $60,000 range. We did not buy computers. Now, after doing all that, we're saying, okay, let's start getting into the cycle about some replacing these computers. And we're not only using a time-based situation, we're using the school dude that's given us what is the work history on the computers. And if we're spending more time on a computer than it's worth, and the power leaps jump out this half hour to start them back up again, it makes sense. It's a cost savings of manpower that, you know, eventually if you kept these things in the system, you'd almost be asking for another person just to keep these silly things running. So I think that's what happens too. You've got the time frame on it that says, boy, it's getting in that range. What is the history on the computer based on school dude? Because we track the work done per machine, if I understand it correctly. So that's how we get into it. It's not only a time-based, it's a function-based situation.
Mike Brown?
Yeah, two questions. Nate or Peter, because I can't figure it out myself. Is this 215,000 between new and replacement, is that an abnormal number as budgets go? Is this year's request, you know, much higher, significantly higher, a little bit higher than you typically would come forward with in a typical budget year?
I don't think so. I think the last 2 years, I think I go the other way, Mike, and say the last 2 years have been abnormally low. And I'll say that, I think 600 is high than the normal year, but I think the last 2 years have been abnormally low. For example, like I said, we only bought last year 52 IBMs. You know, again, go back to the 6 years, I'll use 1,200 to make it nice and easy. You look at, on a straight line basis, 200 machines. This year, you've got, you know, a music lab, which, you know, in the scheme of $600,000, I never want to say 21 is not a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
But in the scheme of a $600,000 lease that you know, package, you're talking $21,000, which obviously is a, you know, one time, it's a new lab that's being outfitted. And I don't think normally you'll get a new lab being discussed like of this magnitude.
Okay.
But I think on the replacement side, I think it's gonna be close. You know, look at the other page where it says replacement of computers. I think that's gonna be close, and I don't wanna say that's the number every year, but that's a fair good picture of what we could be looking at on an annual cycle.
Okay, and the second question I have is, and I guess it's for the tech committee again, and I know you've got some computer folks on there. Did the committee or the school district assess what I would call getting out of the hardware business? We have this perpetual stream of hardware replacement and maintenance and support. Was there any thought given to buying licenses to hosted applications and lowering the cost of owning hardware and supporting hardware?
Well, you've got two platforms. You got the education platform, where the service hosts a variety, ton of applications for either it's labs or individual classes, all the way down from the high school to even to Moose Hill, and large and small. I mean, AutoCAD, Keytrain for the SPED program, and a whole bunch of other ones down the road. Then on the administrative side, you've got really the two big ones, or three big ones. You've got the library circulation program, you've got Munis, and you've got student management. You can host them, which would reduce, I think, your server costs, hardware, but your annual cost is much higher. And when we looked at Munis, we weighed the varies between letting them host it and us. And it was much cheaper, simply, once you buy the hardware for 4 or 5 years, much cheaper for us to maintain it than it is for Munis to maintain it. We didn't look at it, I don't think, for the library system. I don't know if they, I can't remember if they offered up that service. Munis offers up that service of hosting, but you still need the hardware, you know, the workstations, because you've got a variety of other tasks that are going on, other than just Munis or a library or student management or the classrooms.
Yeah, I was just, whether, it's easier said than done to just replace all the desktops with a thin client, or whatever word you want to use,
Yep.
and just access stuff that's hosted and maintained and supported by someone else, and we get out of that business. But maybe we can move some of these hundreds and hundreds of desktops into that environment. I'm hoping the committee's looking at that type of phase out.
We brought it to the committee, but I can tell you that the three of us have often discussed ways that we can maybe utilize the thin client environment.
Yeah.
And we obviously, we talk every day, and that's on our discussion to see if we can, get
Yeah.
into, and maybe we use it as a pilot, like one lab or something.
That's where I was going. Most of my customers, most of the businesses that have to make these big decisions are all assessing that.
Yeah.
Why do I want to own this and support it and have people running around and all that? If I have this viable thin client, give me a seat up there for whatever X amount of money. I don't know if that's novel in a school district or not, but it'd be good to look at and maybe run a pilot.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's one. Did you have another one?
No, the first one was the question about the previous year's expense. Thanks.
You have other capital items?
One left. Student management system. Reason we're here requesting a student management system. When I say student management system, I mentioned in discussions with Dan earlier, from IT's point of view, it's unresolved. And just everyone's clarification, the bids from the RFP process are due in on Friday. I think it's noontime, maybe 4 o'clock, but I know they're due in on Friday. So by Friday afternoon before we leave, we'll be able to open the bids and then get a better view of what the price range, if I was too high or too low or whatever. The whole impetus on asking the school board to approve a student management system, as I mentioned, is WinSchool. Whether we upgrade SMS, which is half the program we have now, or we go to XYZ company, is for the committee to decide, and we'll evaluate what each package has of viable vendors and costs and all that. The reason I said is the WinSchool, with the age of the program, the limitations of the program, the fact that it was designed and built to be a single building database. If you remember, those who are on the board who have been here for a while, back about 3-4 years ago, every school had a WinSchool server, middle, high, north, south, and Matthew Thornton. And the way that simply worked was, it was a single-based database. It was easy to run. It was by usually the principal and the vice principal. They had all the records, and all the records resided in that building. And it was extremely difficult, if at all, for the district office to ascertain those records. It was some end run that we had to do to get to those records. And so, from a building perspective, and I'm sure Jim Elefante will agree with me, it was great. WinSchool was great. It was simple. It did what the building principals wanted, and it did it well. What's happened is, as you get into No Child Left Behind and all that stuff, the programs are starting to migrate towards a district-wide environment. And the district office starts to get involved in student information. And one of the problems that we had was When I first arrived, if bus 4 got in an accident or broke down, and it's at Matthew Thornton, Matthew Thornton was the only one who knew what students were on the bus. The district office didn't have access to that information. So Mrs. Curl called the district office, wanted to know, was her child on that bus, because she can't remember if Jimmy was on 4 or 6. The district office wouldn't know, and had to redirect Mrs. Curl to call Matthew Thornton, who every other parent is calling Matthew Thornton to find out what's going on. But also, as we get into reporting, where the state is now asking the district for a district-wide information on enrollment, on attendance, on all the stuff, some of it's being tied to revenue. Win School really breaks down, and what we did was, we moved to a platform called Open District, which allows, as I mentioned, the high school and middle school use both SMS and they use Win School. They use Win School for all their daily stuff, and they use an SMS for the enrollment or district-wide data that the district office needs to use. The Win School piece is the one that needs to be replaced, in our view. You need, we would implore that the district and the school board look at planning a procedure to move away from the Win School database. Where we go from there, I say from IT, I don't want to use the word I don't care, but we care, but that's the purpose of putting in $230 or a dollar figure to review the process of moving to a new student management program. Win School simply can't handle the needs of mainly the high school, but also some of the needs of at the middle school.
Ron?
Peter, we're going to, whatever program we have is going to be grades 1 or kindergarten through 12.
Correct.
Is there any way, instead of taking this 230, I assume is for kindergarten through 12, the cost of
Yes.
that program, is there any way for the implementation, since the high school is the first problem we have, is to implement the high school at a small cost this year? I'm going to use 50% of the cost because I think that's a rough number, say 115,000 this year, and next year implement the grades K through 8. Do it in 2 sections type of deal, so you drag it out over a year and take this Leafs number down a little bit, but hit our major item on it, which would be the high school and the scheduling of the children.
Right, there's 2 problems with the comment you just made. One was, we need to remember, whatever we do, whether we stay with SMS or upgrade to SMS or move to XYZ company or vendor, we will not be using whatever new platform we use until September of '08.
Yes.
Okay? So that's why I get back to Dan's point when he said, can the support contract for Win School SMS be down? We can look at that, but don't forget, we're gonna be on the same platform we're on now for a year. If you're asking then, can we just buy modules for the high school of XYZ and then come back a second year and buy the existing modules? I mean, I guess, the answer is I don't think so, but we can look at it, and we can certainly ask the vendors. And the reason why I'm not sure is, when you're buying the modules, I'm guessing now, because, I don't know exactly how they're designed, but you're probably buying the scheduling, the attendance, so forth and so on, and to them, it doesn't matter to the vendor whether it's K, 6, 8, or 12, you're buying the attendance module, scheduling module, grades module, so forth and so on. You see what I'm saying?
Well, in the last,
I don't know if the vendor would break out the cost because you're only doing the high school 1 year and then doing K to 8, also year 2.
Peter, could I ask this question, and maybe it's another way of getting at what Ron's talking about. Can you spread the cost of the student management system over 2 years of a lease? In other words, we're now talking fiscal year '08. The implementation of it, the actual, beginning, everyday use, will be fiscal year '09. So the issue then becomes, can we, instead of having, let's say we wind up selecting software pack, student management system,
XYZ.
XYZQ. The, the question I would then have is, and let's say for the sake of argument, the cost is $200,000, just to make it easy. Can we spread that cost over 2 lease years? In other words, $100,000 for FY '08, $100,000 FY '09? Because I think Ron's not.
Exactly where I'm going.
Not really talking about, just do the high school, it's more how you're paying for it than anything else. So I get, it's,
I mean, the answer, the honest answer I can give you is, I don't know, and certainly that could be one of the questions that come up as we zero in on particular vendor and then work out the cost arrangements. Because, don't forget, what usually happens is, let's use 200,000 as a number, and I'm just gonna make this up. 50,000 would be upfront, 50,000 when XYZ modules have been installed. Don't forget, they go by what's installed, and signed off as working. Could we do it? I mean, I guess so. I mean, I can't tell you for sure, but obviously that's one of the things we can bring up as we zero in on a particular vendor, is a cost schedule that we could roll over on in 2 years. The other thing I'd have to do is make sure that the leasing company agrees to it, because don't forget, when let's say it's $100,000, they don't have anything they don't have anything tangible yet. They don't have a software program that's tangible because it hasn't been fully delivered yet. So I gotta go back to them and see what they would do. That was one of the reasons, many reasons, but that's one of the reasons why we put it into the lease, was to get that spreading or tax impact over a number of years. And I see what you're saying.
It's a big elephant in the lease,
I understand.
because that's almost equal to our lease of this year.
Yes.
Just that one item.
I understand.
I'm just trying to see how I can
And we can ask for
that
that.
elephant in some way.
We can put that in as the list, the laundry list of questions that we got on structuring the cost of the program.
Even if you split your fiscal years, in other words, found some method to fund it between 2 years, that might help. The last time you presented, wasn't it a per student cost was an estimate, or one of the
The
companies?
estimate was like $35 to $40 is a budget number that somebody gave us to use when really kind of, for a budget number on what the total program was.
Something else to look at as you talk to these companies. Obviously, it's ongoing, your research is ongoing. I think the board would be interested in other methods. And if a portion of the, Ron brought up a portion of the students, he brought up splitting the lease somehow. So those types of things.
I did speak to a couple of superintendents I know who have recently put in student management systems, new student management systems, to confirm costs that we were getting from vendors, and it's between $35 and $40 a student is what you're looking at, depending on the extent of the package. So the figures that we're getting from the consultants are very close to what in reality people are telling me that they actually spent. So we're fairly comfortable with those costs. So
I have a question on Wynn School. And this is because I wasn't here. How long ago did we implement Wynn School?
I'll defer that one.
Or what year?
nine
Being
years.
told 9 years.
So 97, 98, in that range. I heard you say the company's headquartered in Londonderry?
The company that owns the program and the code is actually called Chancery in Vancouver. Our reseller and support contractor, EduTeam, is located across the street from the post office, in that small, that condo office complex.
right now, I would say somewhere in the neighborhood of 70 to 80% of the student management software is now basically owned by Pearson. They have bought Chancellery,
Yes.
they've bought Apple, PowerBook. So as the mother, Pearson is becoming the mother company of textbooks and student management software. It depends on, I think, a lot, the way they're structuring it. It's going to be which software that you begin to look for will be dependent upon really the size of your school district. And I think looking at some of the software out there for student management, they're saying if you're running a school district of 35, 40, 50, 60,000, or cases like New York City, millions of kids, that you may prefer to go with student management software X. If you're down to a more reasonable size, like a Londonderry or a Manchester, you may be looking at software Y because of it's not as complex as software X would be, just based on size and components. So it's going to be interesting to see how the industry, in a sense, begins to shake out as it appears to be being absorbed, so to speak, by one giant company. It's no different than the way textbooks are now. I mean, you're looking, and there used to be many, many textbook companies, and now they may still retain remnants of their old name, but, there's this little textbook amoeba located someplace that's just gobbling everybody up. So.
Other questions on student management software?
One more?
One more?
Me. Nate, I had a two-part question. I think you answered one of them as to how the 230K was generated. It's based on an industry estimate per student.
Yes. Yes, sir.
The way this is framed as the description in the write-up on page 493, it suggests we're going to investigate and see if we can do something within the current system, in which case training and support needs to be addressed, or we're going to go to a brand-new system. And our placeholder value for the latter is 230K.
Right.
Round numbers.
Yeah.
Can you comment on the likelihood? Is there a relative more likelihood that we're going to have to go out rather than stay with what we got? Do you have any idea?
I think the issue, we put the 230 in as an outside cost, with the 230 being if we went with a completely new setup, and it would be in that ballpark. And as Peter has mentioned several times, the reason we put this in the lease was that it gives us a little bit more time to investigate and come back and report to the board. So unlike a particular number that we put in the general fund budget, let's say $100,000, that in essence becomes fixed if in fact the budget is approved in March. Under a lease, we can spend more time looking at it because we could come back to the board and say, look, we don't need 200,000, it's 150 or it's 100, depending on the particular package we go. And even though the lease said $600,000, we're not spending $600,000 on a lease, we're spending $500,000 on a lease, because we don't make that final decision until summer or early fall, depending on how everything else falls out. So by placing it in a lease, it gives us that greater flexibility. And we're supposed to be getting the bids back this Friday, I believe it is, on the RFPs that have been put out. We'll spend time going through that, visiting. I think some of the key issues for us are going to be visiting sites that actually have these in place, and talking to school districts that have implemented them. What's a nice way of putting this? There used to be a lot of jokes about used car salesmen and how honest they were. Software salesmen, I think, now have that checkered jacket on that the used car salesmen used to have. So I think actually going out and talking to to people who are using it and finding out exactly what the issues are, I think will be of significant help for us. And then by putting it in the lease, in essence, gives us that additional time, in fact, to do this, so.
I think the major factor, Paul, and I don't mean to say the elementaries are not important, because they are. One of the big pieces of this program will be the scheduling of middle and high school. And scheduling the elementary school is very simple. It's how does the system flow through the scheduling of the middle and high school classes. That's one major piece. The other major piece is attendance, and the other major piece of this program would be how easy are the screens for inputting the grades, so forth and so on. And to find a district that has product XYZ and have used it at least for 1 year. So they went through the scheduling, they've gone through attendance, they've gone through grades, they've gone through transcripts, and they're at least in the process of doing what we call year-end work, where we move Jimmy from 10th grade to 11th grade, we move Mary from the 5th grade to the 6th grade, and those are the two big problems are when you move the kids from the elementaries to the middle and move the kids from the middle to the high school, when you're moving from, different, in different schools. And that's what we're looking, and we haven't found a high school of our size and so forth that has done that with SMS, which is the other reason, I guess I would say we're here today, talking about this.
Tom and then Ron?
Yes, sir.
Is there, any training associated with the new student-wide management system? And
I'm sorry, I apologize, Tom, I can't hear.
will there be any training costs that's going to follow the implementation of the student-wide management system? Would you have an estimate of it if there is?
Well, that is all, we would be looking, part of the RFP requires them to identify what specific training would be included in the package for the student management system. So we don't know yet because we haven't seen the bids come back, but our expectation is that those costs would be included and would be incorporated in the whole process.
It would be inside the 230?
Yes, sir, yes.
In following years, would it also?
I would assume that once we get the initial training up and running, the initial training, and we get the program up and running, the only additional training we would need would either be refresher stuff for those kinds of things that happen, let's say, once a year, or new people that we brought in, some of which I would anticipate that we would do in-house by people who have already done it. And if there's a new version coming up or whatever, that we would incorporate that into the management, the license, the fee that we normally pay each year. That's the way we look at it.
Thanks.
Mike Brown and then George?
Yeah, it just raised a point, Nate. When you, the visits that you plan to do, which I think are an excellent idea, you mentioned some other school districts. Do you have a sense for at least a handful that you're aware of and can go talk honestly with?
Right.
And find out what the true, ask them, what's the true
Absolutely.
cost here, guys? What are you paying for now? And bring that back to us to let us know what we're really getting into.
Absolutely. Which school districts we go visit, I think are going to be predicated on what we get back for
Right,
bids.
right.
And part of what we're asking for is what school districts are presently using them, are they this size? And as professional communities tend to be really small, so even if it's someplace in Massachusetts, the odds are that one of us knows somebody who's a superintendent there or works there, and we'll get an honest answer
And
back.
understand. Yeah, great.
Piggyback on that, Mike, we're like the premier ship, I guess, for Munis in New Hampshire, meaning we've had several school districts come in and come visit us, mainly at HR and payroll, because that's obviously the engine for financial software. And we're very honest, and we'll point out some things that had we known earlier, we would have done it this way or that way, or so forth and so on. I've done this now with Munis. I've did it twice on the town side. Schools and municipalities are usually pretty honest and say, don't let them do this, and make sure you get this installed first because that links to this or whatever. So it's usually, professionals and professional courtesy, and, I don't think a school district would hide some piece of information that we should know about as we go about, secure a deal with XYZ company.
George and then Ron?
Thank you. Peter, and I think Jim alluded to it a couple weeks, well, it seems like a couple weeks ago, it was probably only a couple days ago, that what we use currently is cumbersome, it's time-consuming, it doesn't meet necessarily our needs. So assuming that, we leave this in and we decide to move forward to replace the existing systems, and as I gain efficiencies, what kind of reductions am I going to look at in things like clerical hours and things like that?
I don't know yet. I don't know until I know what program we're moving down the road.
Okay. So some are more efficient than others?
Some are more efficient than others. A lot of times when you're looking at programs, the screens are more easier to use than others. From a clerical point of view, where we're talking to hourly employees, we're talking attendance,
Which is what you said was one of the issues,
right.
so I would expect to gain some hours back there. I mean, I don't think I'm going to get,
I
Jim's going to gain some hours back, hopefully.
I don't want to say yes and no, but I don't see that totally being out of a realm of possibilities somewhere down the road.
Well, I mean, it's got to be in the realm of possibility.
Right.
You're asking,
Yes.
You're asking us to spend money
A lot of
for
money.
efficiency gains.
If I can, and I'm speaking for the high school, but it's probably not dissimilar at the elementary and middle. Right now, the management system is really run by the administrators.
Mm-hmm.
I think you would gain efficiency on my end, certainly on Mike Dolphin's end. Clerically, the only thing I see, and we'd have to see how it falls out, the hope is eventually attendance will be taken each period by teacher. So a good thing at the high school is, right now, we just take attendance in the morning. That's all we're capable of doing. What would happen is every teacher would take attendance during every period, send it through the computer system, it will go to the houses. So by doing that, I think clerically, right now, we have one person who is the attendance lady who does that. I think there's an efficiency in an area where we can look at. But as far as scheduling goes, as far as all the student management goes, that's really administrative. And I would think you would gain
Obviously,
efficiencies there.
Instead of Mike spending,
Yeah,
14-hour days.
exactly.
We can only spend 13.
Well, we probably spend 14-hour days, but move the 14 hours to other things.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. But, where I'm looking at is things like.
It really isn't a
attendance and
clerically
those kind
run
of
system, it's an administrative run system. I think that's fair to say, except for registrations. But I think the registrations will be the same, but it would be more efficient going out to the teachers, out to the counselors and all of that. I don't know, does that help?
Yeah, very much, thank you.
Ron?
Mike, you had asked a question about the honesty of the school districts on there. About a year ago, sat down on a conference call with a school district that had the next version of what we have at the high school. This is coming out of that conversation that maybe we should be looking at alternative programs. They had implemented it. They're very honest with us. We kind of had our jaw on the ground a little bit on some of the issues. And that's why we decided to come out and see what else is out in the industry. That was the impetus for this whole thing. I see Jimmy not shaking his head yes back there.
Yeah, I was referring more to the, I'll call it hidden costs. We've gotten into this situation on both sides where we told folks this is what it is, but we really didn't understand the follow-on cost. Those are the honest answers I'm looking for, and the guys you know will probably tell you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and to help with that too, Mike, you'll see the technology templates that we have in there. What we've been endeavoring to do, and I think we're getting better at it, is look, the term that they always use in the technology committee is loaded cost.
Yeah.
So if the computers may cost X, but then you've got, 10 hours of installation time, you got this and that. So when we look at this stuff, we're really trying to look at what the loaded cost is, so that we've got a good idea as to which way it's going.
That would include the reverse of what George is looking for.
Yes.
Has anyone added people because of this system?
Yeah,
That would really not be good at all.
yeah,
That's why I didn't even mention it.
Okay. Well, I thought I would.
yeah.
The interesting thing is the district's been through a learning curve of sorts with the Munis system within its recent institutional memory, so it understands the costs and expenses of going through something like this. This system would also handle grading and that type of thing. To George's question, he mentioned administrative support. On the grading issues, I know that, and I'm not sure why, maybe it's an alphabet thing, but we always have Mrs. Ferguson as our guidance counselor for my students. But I think she was, when I prodded her, and she said that one of the more frustrating things was working with the students and the grading system and that type of thing. So this software would be something that would clean that up.
Absolutely. And that's one of the points of the system, and how we do the grading is also the reason why, yeah. And we also would hope, by moving to the, a current platform, you get into the idea of remote access, and allowing then teachers to be able to connect at home and do grading or whatever notes they want to do at home, which is very difficult with Win School because of the age of the technology.
Okay. Any further questions on student management this evening? Seeing none, anything else on IT department?
I think we're done.
Thank you for your assistance.
The only thing left, really, is two things, the copiers and then the lease as a general. I don't know if we've kind of gone over it as we've.
No, let's, I was going to ask the question. There are leftover cookies from what I understand, so.
Where are they?
Capital lease, any other capital lease items that we've missed throughout all of the presentations and the workshops? I know we tried to have conversations with the people that deal with the equipment as they were in here.
Yes, we're checking, I
Nothing
think
we
we've
missed.
covered, as each presenter has come up, all the equipment that's listed in the lease.
Pardon? Tom Kramer and
Brandon Winnett.
what's Brendan? White. Gee, yeah, that's a hard name to remember.
Tom Kramer.
Thanks, guys.
Free time? Free time. Brandon's a consultant.
Then let's review copiers. We slipped
Yes.
that till this evening.
Sure. Well, the district is right now finishing up a 3-year, I like to use the word rental agreement, because that's really what we're doing. We're renting copiers. We're not lease purchasing them, because you don't want to get in the habit of lease purchasing the copiers, because by the time we get to the 3 years, their rated volume has already gone over about 6 months prior to the time we take them out or earlier. There's 41 copiers of different sizes and different capabilities spread out for the district in the 6 schools plus the district office. 28 of them are what what's termed to be on the mother lease, since it's the majority of the copiers. And that 3-year rental agreement is coming due on June 30th. So I think I've done this once in my tenure as business administrator, is what we'll do is we'll review the volume on the copiers. We'll look at any incorporating new technologies that have come in. look at maybe if there's ways of consolidating copiers for particular areas or subject, then we'll simply just rate the size of the copier that we're looking for particular areas, and then go out to bid with a list that says, I'll just use example, we're looking for the same spec and capacity of a Conacher 100 for this room. And we're looking for 2 Conacher 500s, I'm just making it up, for here. That gives the vendors the specs and the capacities that we're looking to do. And then we talk about components. Do we want stapling? Do you want a sorting tray? Do you want it connected to the network or standalone? Do you want color? Do you not want color? Do you want duplexing? All those, add 0.01 or whatever to the copying maintenance, annual maintenance costs. And that's what we've done. The last time, and that's the process I was planning to use for the upcoming 28 copies that expire June 30th. I know from being here the last budget committees, there's a desire or a will to, obviously do more electronic stuff, and I will certainly keep that in mind. But I got to tell you, from the few years I've been on the school side, and I really didn't know it till I did it this first time. It seems like the best friend of the teacher is the copiers. They're used extensively. They're used still for variety, obviously for tests and so forth and so on. And whenever I go in and look at the copiers and walk with the current vendor, there's always people, mainly teachers, huddled around the copiers, printing volumes of paper and waiting in line. It's, I think that's the nature, I guess, of schools, and that's what we're looking for. The copiers are used, they're used for printing, they're used for tests, they're used for scanning now. We've gotten in the process where if SPED, for example, has a document of a student, we can scan them in and create a folder or document, a PDF file, and be able to save those documents, as one PDF file. Simply, the budget document was done, building one big PDF file and then running it through the copiers and providing books. That's what we're looking to do in this process. And we'll identify the size, so forth and so on, and then go out to bid on a district-wide basis, and obviously get the best pricing for the 28 copiers, or maybe less, depending on the current needs of the schools in district office.
Yes, I appreciate your statement. I didn't understand it either till I was on the board for a while. It's too bad the press isn't here, but rifle is to soldier as copier is to teacher. So you're, as it is their friend, and I have had many comments from different teachers and administrators on the copiers. I understand. Questions from the board, Ron?
What about the other 13 copiers?
Those were
41, and we were only putting 28 in the lease.
Those are off cycle for a couple reasons. Obviously, the copiers at Moose Hill are off cycle because when we built Moose Hill, we installed X copiers at Moose Hill, and we obviously weren't going to wait till as I call it, the mother contract to come up. So those are off cycle. And then I think when I came here, there were a few that weren't part of the mother lease to begin with. My gut feeling is, if the copiers are usually rated for XYZ volume, so my gut feeling would be, we bought XYZ copier, let's say 1 million volumes, I'm just making up a year, and it was missed. It's running 2.5 million a year, and it just died. So instead of constantly trying to maintain it and have it down, it was decided to maybe replace it a year earlier. I don't know exactly. I just know that these are the 28 that were on this mother lease or contract that I inherited.
I guess the question I have is that I assume when you go out for 28 copies or 41 copies, the 41 you get a discount and someone's looking at this big volume. Am I going to do a lease for 28 and then be hit for twosies and threesies here and there? Or are these coming up, or can they be incorporated as they come into the other lease? How do we get everything back now that we're built out? The Moose Hill is built, we've added the expansion to the high school, all those spaces. How do we all get us back on the one lease agreement so we have get any sort of discounts that we could see with the volume that we're looking at?
I could obviously bring that idea up and kick it around with either, go out to bids or the vendor that is selected. I don't know, I can't say to you there would be savings by renting, I use the word renting, the additional 13 or not at this point. I know what we did do with the last time we went through this round, similar to the copiers, we, for example, said, look, we thought this one was gonna do $1 million, it's really only doing 500, so we don't need this $1 million one here, let's move it over here, and then we rented a 500 one, that kind of a, not say deal, but kind of method program. So I would obviously incorporate that kind of a, see where we are. Obviously, I go back to the copiers, computers. If I don't need a million copier, million annual copier here, I'm only doing 500. Put it where the million copies are used. So we incorporate that idea. But I can look at it and say, okay, do I get any kind of a deal? If I'm talking 41, and price it out versus what we've got, because of the spreadsheet we gave you gives you, I believe, the years that each copier rental agreement is up.
And I would assume they're 3 or 4 year lease, so I don't.
Yes, they're all 3.
So next year, we're gonna have a bunch come due and a bunch come due.
Yeah. This one comes up because it's so many of them, ones and twosies.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. We're on the same
Se-
track.
Second question I have is, I had thought you had mentioned, and I could be wrong here, that the lease that we had right now was backloaded in the costs. That it wasn't, it's
I think that was the old one. I don't remember that statement. I can look at it. I don't remember that. I thought that came up, I thought, when 3 years ago, when we were talking about this.
But maybe it was 3 years ago, I had thought it was.
I do remember somebody mentioning that phrase, but I thought that was the one that was expiring 3 years ago.
Okay, thank you.
Of the 41 machines in the district, are they all with the same vendor?
The copiers are with Conway Office Product, and there's, if memory serves me right, I'm somewhere like 5 or 6 what we call Rizzos. And those are with UBM, which is located on Mammoth Road, just in the Londonderry, Manchester line. When we did the bid the last time, UBM had a lower price on the Rizzos than Conway. And actually, it was nice that it happened that way, because then you can get a feel for how UBM services, so you have another vendor to kind of evaluate the service level and response time. So now you had 2 vendors, and you can kind of, at least for them to see how the service levels, coincide.
Copier questions, Mike?
Not up there, huh? Okay. Peter did a good job of cutting me off at my knees with a lot of my questions here, but what is the average fully loaded cost for a copier? Like, of the 41, just give me kind of a...
You mean?
Well, just how much does it cost us to have a copier? I mean, 41, to a lot of people, they hear that number and go, wow, that's a lot of copiers.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
We got I thought you had the spreadsheet that we identified all the
get
copies
that
in the
from?
district. We show you what we call the rental costs, and then what our estimated volume times per copy
didn't
cost is.
Hopefully you have the right number. And here's the way they are.
Surprised we actually know what they
All
all
put together.
Okay.
There's enough for everything.
Follow the trails,
But anyways,
the worn out cup.
the question or a statement that I had, and it's just me thinking out loud, is that while I can understand that, copiers have a lot of value and that it's still very much a paper-driven environment, you'd still want to kind of hang your hat on, there's got to be some way to knock that down over time, as you'd think that technology had caught up to the point where we can really strive to reduce this paper-intensive environment. So I would like, just as one member, to see, as you do this analysis, as opposed to just going for the 41, I'd like to see a goal put out there that we try to do with less than 41 and make it happen and see what happens. I wouldn't,
Well,
I'm kind of looking.
if I didn't make it clear, I apologize. My goal is to evaluate and try to come in X minus 41, whatever that is.
Yeah,
But I have to balance your statement versus the needs of the individual schools.
Yep.
And what we don't want is if I limit, I'll just use Matthew Thornton, one copier and it breaks, the whole building is down. Any kind of copying needs for tests or documents to go home or whatever is not getting done.
yeah,
So I have to be,
of course.
I am constant, my job is constantly be conscious of costs and balance the need of the individual building.
Yeah,
For example, you got to look at spacing, and if you look at how the high school is designed, you've got long corridors that go way down. If I just put copiers inside the general lobby, I'm making teachers or whatever walk a significant walkway to do copying. So you're trying to provide them with the tools. The teachers, this is a tool for teachers and administrators, but, and you don't want them spending, oodles of time walking down for any kind of copying needs. So you got to balance, soft costs, time of personnel versus the cost of renting the copier.
yeah. Some of that, I think the teachers actually would play an important role as well, in that if they did a self-assessment of whether what they're copying now actually, does everything need to be copied? There may be some items or jobs or projects that don't require copying, and if you eliminate them here and there, we might collectively get where we want to go and everyone's still happy. So I would love to see this number come down and have some hope that technology is actually doing something for us. So, I'm done.
Other questions on copiers? I was with Xerox Corporation in the 70s. In 1977, I stated that the office of the future would be paperless. I think what we found is we ended up creating more documents. Something that I noticed that the schools do is oftentimes they will use partial sheets. I've seen them use half sheets to print 2 images on 1 page and then tear those sheets or cut those sheets in half or a third of a sheet and that type of thing. And the number of color copiers in the district? Never ask a question unless you know the answer.
0.
0, okay. All right.
Got color printers, though. Color printers.
We have crayons.
We try not to duplicate on the copiers, so.
We have anything else for discussion this evening before I go over the rest of the budget calendar?
No, sir. Just a final comment, from the administration's perspective in the school district. We want to thank the school board and the budget committee for your attentiveness over these last 3-4 budget presentations, and your questions and your comments, and we do appreciate that. And, we want to thank you for that, and we want to also wish everybody a very happy holiday season and a happy new year. And if you want to put more money back into the budget, we'll gladly take that too. Just one other comment, though. Just, we've, in essence, gone through the trees over the last 3-4 sessions. I think to one degree that helps to step back and take a look at the forest would be if you go to start on page 31 and go to 33, where we've grouped things by object, where you see salaries, bennies, purchase services, professional and technical, purchase services, others, and it basically takes the entire budget and breaks it down into sizable hunks, knowing that almost 81% of the budget is salary and benefits. And when you look at purchase services, professional and technical, we're looking at 1.1% of the budget. When you look at purchase services, others 1.8, then 6%. And when you look at in supplies, which is books and energy, which is 4.5%, and then looking at learning materials, you notice even with the inclusion of the new core reading series under the 500-611, it's still $23,000 less than what we spent this year on learning materials, even with the implementation of the new core reading program. So I think that gives you, when you look back, that gives you it in groups, I think, and we move back from the tree to take a look at the forest. And then the one other comment I just want to slide in and then graciously go away for the evening is just a reminder that we have tried over the last several years to institute significant cost avoidance programs, and that the cost avoidance for the programs that we have discussed as we went through this process, including everything from Chuck's energy management to the special ed programs, is roughly $1,380,000, which does amount to 41 cents on the tax rate. So we're cognizant that, in fact, the budget went up, but I just want to reinforce the idea, too, that we also have been trying to watch our dollars and our pennies and our pounds in developing in-house programs and putting in efficiencies that, in fact, do address cost factors and allow us to continue to maintain our programs. So, with that, I'm done.
The following dates we have coming up is January 4th, 2007. We have a general budget workshop. We also scheduled, the last time we were in here, a second session on January 9th. January 9th is the last day to publish the dates for the budget hearing, bond hearing, and it's also the last day for submission of petition articles for those, any citizens interested in citizens' petitions. If you'd like to contact the district office for assistance with that, feel free so that they're correctly worded. It's also the last day for collective bargaining cost items. This year we have one union agreement that would be coming due. The January 11th budget and bond hearing. Last date for the bond hearings would be January 16th. We'll see between now and then if we schedule any further hearings. And January 29th is the last day to post the warrant and the budget. February 9th for the 5 of us and our 495 closest friends. If you would like to have a ability to make any changes to the budget that we'll finally present, that will be the deliberative session. If you don't come, the board is would be the only people allowed to make changes. February 22nd through March 4th, they publish the official ballot in the local newspapers, and March 13th will be the election and the budget appropriations for the school. Adriana, you had asked the last time, when we wanted your input, and as I understand, you would like to have a conversation with us on January 4th. That would be fine. Also, I'd like you to understand that the school board considers you, the budget committee, the pejorative you, but we consider you partners in the process. And I don't want you to think that you've got, one point that you've got to come in at that point and rush everything and get all of that out. We'd be more than happy to continue to have conversations with you as we did last year throughout the entire process. Do you have anything else from the board? So at 10:01, I'd take a motion.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Motion by George and second by Ron. And as far as discussion, Mary, I'd like to thank you for making sure that your typing is never on the air. I appreciate that. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? 5-0.
January 8th.
And if you're in this room, you're on the air.